Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Happy to have you here. Hopefully, you all had a pretty good weekend. I've had kind of a stormy one here, but it was pretty quiet and got some stuff done. A lot of writing, actually, for me. But hopefully, you guys had a better one in the various places around the world you are. And today we got some interesting things to get into. I kind of chose the word fiasco today, and fiasco has an interesting little history. It's actually, a 19th century term that we still use today that came out of the theater. And it meant to have a horrible performance, to have bombed in the audience's opinion. I think the word's actually coming out of an Italian word that means to break a bottle, whatever that means. But nevertheless, there's a lot of fiascos going on, if you haven't noticed. A complete failure and dropping of the ball almost in every single solitary arena that exists. But, that's just my opinion. Hi, Thundero.
Hi, Chester. I didn't know we were streaming, Chester. I
Why?
checked in here like 15, 20 minutes ago. You weren't here.
No way. I've been here.
No.
Well,
Don't you
maybe
try them
I.
shenanigans with me.
Well, I had trouble loading into the Discord. I had to drop in and out a couple times. But I've been
Gotcha.
working on the show here for, as I usually do. I usually come in like a hour ahead of time and make sure I set everything up.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, how was your weekend?
Splendid. I made about $500 yesterday.
Nice.
And then other than that, I've just been playing this Harry Potter game.
Yeah. What's your opinion on it? It looks great.
It's good. Um, I mean, there's some things in it that are interesting decisions. One, they really limited how many spells they put in because the Harry Potter world has a ton, but they only gave you maybe 40, but that's more than enough.
It is a lot.
Um, some of them are just like utility spells. Some of them are just like certain combat, like response spells. So like if you block a certain way, you'll do a spell, or if you block really like hold your block, and they hit it, you'll hit a stupefy on them, stuff like that.
I heard the
Um,
combat's actually pretty good.
the combat's pretty fun. The only problem I have with it is there's a few gripes with the combat, and most of it has to do with just third person combat. When you have very point to point third person combat, you have to have a nasty good targeting system that's either automatic or off, not in between. And this one's
Right.
in between. I don't like
Oh, I see.
that.
I see. Yeah.
There's ways around it. You just have to get really good at manually auto locking the target, and that just takes time, but it's unnecessary. If they would have just went with a different system, it wouldn't be a problem.
My pinky has
Um,
a nickname. It's called Mr.
uh-oh.
Tab.
Right? Pretty much. And other than that, I really like it. I like the fact that aside from like one place you can fly around on your broom, or eventually you get like a flying mount,
Hmm.
um, you can just take off and start flying, even at outside of Hogwarts.
Well, that's
Um,
cool. That is cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you can fly around the whole school and everything, and it's got it's the whole deal. So it's pretty good. I would say it's probably the best adaptation game, or at least it's among the best adaptation games ever made. I'd say the Spider-Man game, the PS4 Spider-Man game was really, really good too. But this one is a direct adaptation of, the Harry Potter world.
Mm.
And I think they did a really good job. It's set 100 years or so before Harry Potter's story
Yeah,
happens
that's good.
in Hogwarts.
That's good.
Yeah. So you can't really do too much to interfere with that. And yeah, it's pretty good. It starts off. It's one of these games that starts off a little slow, and then there's a real bang right at the beginning. For a game about a teenage boy, it's pretty gnarly. So I don't hate it at all.
Oh,
Actually, I think it's a really good
you
game.
can't choose your
Once I
character?
beat it, no, you can. Well, mine's a teenage boy. It
Oh,
can be a
I see.
teenage girl
Okay,
or a
okay.
teenage it if you want to make it some sort of trans or something.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
good. That's good. You should be able. I mean, the thing with that is, I understand our problem with those individuals is they're trying to tell us what we have to do, right? But me
mhm,
personally, I think all games should be completely open that you could play whatever you want.
yep.
Why wouldn't you, right? If you
Yep.
want to play this thing or that thing, go right ahead, dude.
Be- it's honestly, if you like open world games, it's the best one to come out in 3 or 4 years, I
It's
would
been
say.
a while.
Um, yeah, and it's solid, and it's not just a ripoff of Assassin's Creed, which is a big plus because even the Spider-Man game was a little bit Assassin's Creedy with the towers and all this stuff you had to unlock. I haven't.
Right.
There's not really any of that. There's fast travel points you have to unlock, but you don't really unlock them. You just walk up to them, and then you can fast
Well,
travel
like
there.
an MMO.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah.
what what single player open world game have we had come out that's not an MMO since Skyrim? I mean, Inquisition is I wouldn't call that open world, would you?
Oh, there've been a
Dragon
bunch of
Age.
them.
Like
Um,
what? I mean,
like full RPGs, not that many, but ones like the Spider-Man game, for instance, is open world.
oh,
Assassin's Creed games are mostly open world.
okay. No, that's fair.
Uh,
And of course you have
but
the Fallout
they're not
stuff.
really, yeah, they're not really RPGs. In this one, since you can create your own character, the only thing you're really limited to is the tools that they've given you. Other than that, you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
So you're
Uh,
saying that it's real open world, it's not instance based.
The only instances are inside large places. So like
Right.
Hogwarts is instanced,
Yeah.
but it's instance in and of its like it's huge. Hogwarts
Right.
is massive.
Right.
And then there's the open world itself is literally every town out there except for Hogsmeade. You can fly into, land, go inside someone's house, walk out, fly away.
Oh wow.
Like it's completely open. And then Hogsmeade, I think, is pseudo instanced, meaning I don't think you can fly there. At least I haven't tried, but you can fly all the way around it. And for some reason, you just can't fly in the little town
Mm.
itself.
Well, me
But there's other
personally,
towns you can fly
you can
into,
fly
just not that
into.
one.
No, I see. Yeah, they got a bunch of them in the series, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Wizardly towns, but in the movies do visit some of them. I personally am not a big. I don't have a big problem with instances myself. I don't understand what the
Yep.
big argument was. I guess an open world is cool too, but I don't mind instances. Some people get really upset about having invisible walls and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, it just depends on the kind of game you're playing. I mean, relax.
Right.
You know,
There is some of that when you fly a certain height that won't let you go so high, and then
sure,
you can only go so far outside of the school, and then you hit that shows you an invisible wall you can't go through. But other than that, you can. There's no, at least I haven't seen it, limits on where you can go
yeah,
once you get basically once you get your broom. You can just kind of go anywhere
yeah.
and explore if you want.
That sounds great, man. I don't know that I'll have any time anytime soon to give it a try, but I wouldn't mind giving it a try. I mean, my kids did grow up on it. I know a lot about it because of that,
Yep.
reading the books to them and stuff. But yeah, no, it looks wonderful, and that's really
There
really
is,
cool.
as far as the story goes, it's fine. There's no complaints from me as far as like major complaints. I'll have one pet peeve, and it's just because I'm tired of it. Your character's special, right? Like
Yeah,
you're a
well,
special you have a
the
special
chosen
ability
one.
that no one else has. Yeah, I'm just over that, man. We
Yeah,
need to get back to games where you're just a nobody or you're just a everybody and you become a somebody, not you're automatically a somebody. And it's
yeah.
not like you start off like way more powerful. You're not out there Dumbledoring it up, but it's just like I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, no, it's become the trope. Back in the early days of RPG, most of the time you were nobody.
Yeah.
But then again, I think one of the things that have transformed that is probably Bethesda. We'll put the
Yep.
blame on them. Why not? Because before that there was no overarching linear storylines really. right? You're just playing
Mhm.
an RPG. You're in the world, and whatever you're interacting with, there were multiple different stories you could do. But Bethesda's the one. Maybe will Daggerfall to a point, but I mean Oblivion really. They put that overarching linear storyline on top of you, and therefore to motivate there's a whole storyline around it, and your character is part of that. And I think that's really where it got stuck in, and it's been here ever since. You are the chosen one in almost every game we have now. And
Yeah.
in some situations, okay, fine, but I do prefer that more where I'm just kind of a person in the world. I've been really
Well,
enjoying
this
ESO
one,
lately, and it's certainly not that way.
yeah.
I am the chosen everywhere I go.
Yes. This one, while you are special, it's a type of special where nobody really knows it except for there's a few other people you come to find out who are like you. So it's not fully like a chosen one, it's chosen ones, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know, it's just I'm done with that trope. You know, I'd much rather it just be I was just a normal student, and I had to, come up like a student. That would have
Yeah,
been cool. I think a lot of people would have really liked to be able to play out that fantasy of being in Hogwarts as a kid and growing up in Hogwarts.
yeah,
But that's not the way they went with it, and what they gave us. What I have no complaints otherwise as far as the story goes. Like it's not like some horribly acted or anything, or it's not. The tone isn't way wrong for Harry Potter. It's they killed that so far. They've killed it. Other than that pet peeve, which is the you're a special, ancient magic thing. Other than that, they've killed it.
but yeah, and I've heard nothing but good stuff from the people that are playing it. But now, do you think that it's possible with the machine that they put out, the engine they put this on, which I don't even know
Hmm.
what it is? Do you think it's possible that they can do something like, say, The Sims has always done, where they will drop DLC on you, and it opens up new opportunities like Year Two or Quidditch or something like that? Did they set it up in
Quidditch
such
will
a way they could
definitely
do?
happen because Quidditch is not in the game at launch. At least I have. If it is, I haven't unlocked it yet, and I don't think I'm going to. Um, so Quidditch will almost certainly happen. I'd be very surprised if they don't release some kind of Quidditch DLC because everything's there for it. They have the broom, they have the Quidditch ring or whatever it's called, the pitch I think it's called. They have the whole deal. They just don't have the mini game implemented. So I very much expect that within the year or two, probably by the end of this year. Um, and then yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, yeah, absolutely. The map is just big enough that it takes a little bit of time to travel, but it's not ridiculous. So there's plenty of room to add stuff or expand it if they need to. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see something like that. But then again, I don't really know how this game ends yet, so maybe it wouldn't make sense with the end of the game to add
Right.
stuff onto the end of
No,
it.
I like it when they, because The Sims, I've always enjoyed that series. And
Yeah.
with Sims 4, they certainly, especially recently, they've gotten very woke and leaned much more toward the woke crowd and more female crowd, which is
Mhm.
fine. I don't like I said, game for everyone's fine with me. I don't have any problem with that at all. But The Sims has always been really good, where they drop content all the time, and it opens up completely new ways to play the game, right? To be
Right.
fair, this Sims 4, there's certain things of it I really like. I love the magic realms they opened up, and the country living and stuff like that. But to be fair, the Sims 3 is probably better game overall. But and I don't know that this game's that much prettier actually. But I do like that aspect of it where the world is ever growing and developing. You know what I mean? And hopefully with The Sims,
Yep.
particularly in The Sims 5, which is coming sooner than later, they actually released a kind of a teaser at their last event. So it's coming, sometime in the next 2 or 3 years. Hopefully, in the next one, they'll go back to that open world feel that it had, or open instance world, because now they've really limited it, and they've in the past few years they've really been half-assing their DLC. They really, really have. There's been a couple of things that have come out that were okay, but in general, they're half-assing it. The problem with the team they have over there now, mostly they're geared toward LGBT stuff that they release. And if something comes out that it is occult based, they do a good job with that. So that seems to be in their interest area, right? But other
Mm.
stuff is all very much, they just came out with transitioning chest scars, for instance, recently. For your characters, like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't need that. Yeah. But you know what I mean. The format, the application of it is really cool. I think they've just gotten a little bit away from their purpose a little. Now,
Yeah.
on the other side of it, including those kind of people and making them happy, I'm 100% for that. I don't have a problem. I mean, that's one thing. I know there are some who say, well, when and I've heard this argument, and I kind of get it to a point. But the argument that if you give them a yard, they're going to want a mile. In regards to the homosexual, voice, right?
Mm.
And better not to give it at all. Okay, I don't fall in that camp, I suppose, but I'm much more to make everything happy and fun for everybody. The more the merrier. And we had this conversation before regarding board games and D and stuff like that. With Mercer there and his gang, the Critical Role guys, they're super woke, right? Those guys
Yeah.
are full on libtards, right? I mean, but at the same time, they have. I don't even know the actual multiplier that they have affected on this hobby. I mean, the amount of
Mhm.
people playing D&D right now is freaking phenomenal, dude. And it's all because of those kind of guys, Geek and Sundry, and other groups like that. And they're all on that woke liberal side of things, and they brought a lot of those people in. And some of the old schoolers like me have gotten quite upset by that. And I'm like, well, what are you upset about? I mean, honestly, more
Right.
people playing the game means more product, more content, right?
Mhm.
You would think, but it hasn't really worked out that way. But that's a different conversation. But
A
anyway, I'm
lot of
glad
people
glad to hear
don't
it's good.
don't do that last little bit there, Chester. A lot of people don't think.
Mm, that's fair. It does look good, and I'm glad the game is good. And we are going to talk about it today, in actuality. But the first thing I want to do before I get into the content I have is what the hell's going on with flying objects and missiles?
Oh, they're distracting us from the fact that looks like Norfolk Southern's train derailment explosion in eastern Ohio is far worse than anybody possibly imagined. So they're probably just putting that out there to
Yeah, but
distract.
they said there's a fifth one that has entered the country,
Uh-huh.
and they
Uh-huh.
shot down a
Uh,
fifth one.
yeah,
Is that real?
yeah.
Let me throw a conspiracy theory at you, and you tell me what you think.
Uh-huh.
I've heard this one before, and the fact is, there's a lot of people talking about the never been to the moon group, right?
Hmm.
And that the fact that because of the Van Allen belts, we can't get into outer space. Actually, we don't have that technology, and we never have. And NASA has made some flubs of recent years that have acknowledged it, right? That this new system they're working on is literally trying to figure out a way past it. So it's like, well, the Saturn program already got past it, didn't it? Didn't Cassini go out? But anyway, they have flubbed. But here's the thing: it's been suggested long ago by conspiracy theorists that most of our telecommunications are done by tower and ground line, cable,
Yep.
and we know that's true, right? And the satellite things are just hung by large balloons. It's an entire balloons system, right? Okay,
Mm.
and they fly at such a high distance that the white balloon is actually the best way to go for keeping it from sight. If they fall
Yeah.
into the lower atmosphere, they become very visible. And I haven't heard anyone put this forward, but going off of that old conspiracy theory I remember hearing a lot about, Do you think it could possibly just be China? Because most people have to, pay America or Russia or the Japanese to put one of these things up there, right? But
Mm.
China's like, no, we won't do it. We do it ourselves. We China. But the problem is they are China and they can't make
Yeah,
shit, and they
that's right.
flubbed it up, and those things fell out of their orbit and into lower area, and the Americans got to cover it up. What do you think about that?
Could be. Very well could be. I don't trust anything at all, ever, that the
Yeah,
government says, of any government for that matter. Just anybody who has an incentive to lie to me, I do not trust to tell me the truth. So if someone is incentivized greatly to lie to me for political power or other means or other reasons, then I'm going to immediately assume malice in all my interactions with them and dishonesty. So, that being said, I don't know. But what I do know is people the people who are so certain that they know what's going on with those balloons things are stupid people.
yeah, no, no,
Because
of course.
the reality of it is anybody who thinks you cannot have both positions. You cannot have China has satellites because they allegedly do have many of them, spy satellites and things, and then tell me that they are using spy balloons. I don't. Why
It
would you
doesn't make
ever
sense.
need that?
Especially because we got a good photos of those balloons, and what was hanging below them? A
I didn't
satellite.
see.
It was a satellite.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
clearly one. And my wife is laughing at my Chinaman accent. She thinks it's funny.
always,
Uh,
always marry the one who approves of your racist jokes.
mhm.
That's just a little little tidbit of information from a 10-year married man and another man who's been married a lot longer than me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm coming up on 30. But yeah, no, she calls me Chinaman from time to time anyway because I Al Bundy it. And in China, the older men they pull their shirts up and kind of let their bellies air, right?
Yeah,
It's a very Chinaman thing to do, and I do the old Al Bundy, just kind of relaxing with the hands in the waistband, and
I like
she's a Chinaman. So
it.
I was like, I'm bigger than a
I love
Chinaman
your. I've never
in
even
every
met your
way.
wife, and I'm telling you, her and I would get along famously. Never even met her, and she just sounds like a great time to be around.
She gets along with everybody, dude. That's kind of one of her things, you know. But yeah, no. Anyway, but I just it's a curious thing because I kind of wonder if it might just be that because China is stubborn and haughty as hell, right?
Yeah,
They don't like they think that they should be top of the world in every especially the CCP, right?
yeah,
And it just makes perfect sense for me that instead of paying the money and going through the proper channels, they decided to throw their own balloons up, the satellite balloons up, and they screwed it up, right?
yeah.
Because and if you're interested in what I'm just saying with that, go study the Van Allen belts. Coined by Dr. Allen himself. But go study what they are, and you'll find that it's a very interesting thing. Because the Saturn crews that went up to the moon supposedly, how would they have possibly gotten through those radiation bands without death in a little,
Right,
literally a Coke can, right?
right.
It doesn't make sense. But then again, they've kind of covered themselves recently. Have you noticed? What was it a couple of years ago that they came out and they stated scientists have confirmed that the moon is actually within Earth's atmosphere. Did you see
Hmm.
that? Did you see that?
I did see
That
that.
that that, that
Yep.
little that little thing that went right under the radar. Hmm. Yep. But I don't know what it is, but I was surprised because another one popped up this morning. A fifth
Yeah.
one over the Great Lakes somewhere near you.
Yep.
So something's going on, but I didn't even hear about that train derailment you're talking about.
Oh yeah, look into that. There's a big Norfolk Southern, whatever the name of the company is. They had a big train crash, some sort of chemicals that
Oh,
they
that
were hauling,
sucks.
and apparently they've been arresting journalists who get too close to it. So
Yeah, well, they do that.
there's that.
Yeah.
Um, apparently they've been saying if you're within 100 miles of it, which I'm pretty sure I'm clear, because like I said, it's in the east and I'm in the west. But you're in potential danger because of what's being spewed into the atmosphere. I'm like, oh, that's
Uh,
good. That's lovely. But they're not talking about it. You see, they're not really. They're not. No one even really knows what's going on there because it's all hush hush. So it really seems like it was just more of our government's lovely uh,
Nonsense. Yeah.
military industrial complex, aka fascism, at work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, sunlight's the best disinfectant in those situations. I mean,
Yeah.
tragedies happen. They happen. Disaster's a thing. Nothing is perfect. You're going to have those things. And that's unfortunate. Of course, most of the news here has been absolutely dominated by the Turkish earthquake and some, I don't know, Yakuza dudes in Philippines. I don't know what that's about. But they talk about that every damn day. But the Turkish thing has been really a highlight. And old Erdogan, man, that dude, he's done so many. Erdogan is the leader of Turkey, by the way. He's their prime minister or whatever they call him. And
Hmm.
that guy has done so many dumbass shit over time. And there's a big election coming, which I'm sure he'll find a way to delay it because of this. And he's surely going to lose because he's, bankrupt the country. But I mean, if you remember, not too long ago, they had the so-called attempted coup d'état in Turkey, right? And of course, that
Mm.
turned out to be a complete lie and fabrication by him set up to make him sympathetic so he could hold power. I mean, dirty shit, right? That people died
Yep.
in that, dude. People died in that, right? And of course, now once again to cover his government's ass, they're arresting any contractor has anything to do with building any buildings. Hundreds of them have been arrested because they built things improperly. It's their fault. And it's like, no, you're
Hmm.
poor people. You don't have proper building techniques. If you look at the damage, their frickin' concrete walls are like, I don't know, 3 inches thick. I mean, what do you think's gonna happen, dude?
Hmm.
Right? I mean, of course your building's gonna fall down. I mean, in America, our cement walls are a minimum of a foot and a half or something like that, right? And here in Japan, they're
They're
far more serious. But
yeah.
of course, you're going to have buildings fall down. And it's just because they don't have money. They're poor people. I mean, they're modern.
Right.
It's not like they're primitives or something. They are modern, but they're just poor. And of course, things aren't going to be able to be built as well. But he's trying to shift that blame. And to be fair, it's not even his fault anyway,
Right.
right? But these government people, man, they're out the damn mind, dude.
Yeah. Pretty much. Uh, I don't even know what to say anymore with these people. Like the amount of what's the word I'm looking for? Incompetence
Oh my
and
God, so
corruption.
much. So much.
Yeah,
The
it's
corruption,
insane.
I don't mind as much as there isn't incompetence, right? Because, I
Yeah.
mean, usually in the past, it depends on when, but the American government's just as corrupt as any other one, right?
Yep.
But usually they're corrupt and competent at the same time, and I'm okay with that, right? Um,
Can
uh,
deal with that.
I can
You can
deal
you
with
can you
that.
can
Yeah,
work with that. You cannot work with incompetence, no matter how competent you are. If you're surrounded by incompetent people who have the ability to affect your life,
yeah,
you're fucked.
you
There's
are.
nothing you can do.
Yeah, it is true. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on in the world, of course, and much of it, I'm sure, is distraction. But let's get into today's entertainment news because, boy, I mean, there's some morons out there. Let's talk about a few.
There sure are.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is an accurate statement you are making.
So let's go ahead. Yeah, let's see. Let's see how this world goes. Go ahead.
D&D excuse me, let me try that again. D&D executive OGL fiasco worsened by lack of respect for Wizards of the Coast. So I'm going to read the subheader. I should quote, this is a quote, or at least it looks like it's a quote. I should have had more of my team in the room, says executive producer.
Okay. Now, I we've seen this, we've talked about it. Any of us who are interested in this stuff know exactly what's going on with the OGL and that fiasco that came out. But the response from Wizards has been the absolute delight of the show. right? Them coming out and try to put out fires and making, using gasoline instead of, water, has made it all the more entertaining. And of course, the most recent attempt to put the flame out worsened it more than anything before, I think, with this idiot. I just, we know what's going on, but I wanted to see what the voice was from the other side of it, and this is, of course, Polygon. Mhm. So, this is definitely the other side of the conversation. Polygon
Mm,
is one of the most woke websites there that exist. I mean, they're ridiculous,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Ridiculous. I mean, it's like you're talking Guardian levels, right?
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
It's really, really bad. And of course, what they're talking about is the this producer, what was his name? Kyle Brink, had gone on to the what was it? The Twin Hobbits or Twin Black Hobbits or Black Hobbits webcast, a live stream like we do, and Black Halflings is the three Black Halflings, which is a pretty small channel to be honest with you. But of course, he would never show up on one of the bigger ones because they're not properly educated. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
um, in this situation, he goes on and he's talking about all kind of stuff. And of course, the one thing he said that caught everyone's attention was, white men like him can't get out of the industry fast enough, right? Meaning we need to get
Yeah.
rid of all the whites involved in the creative process, the production process. Now, a lot of people are reporting this as just white people get out in general. It's not what he said. That's not what he said. What he said was out of the industry, meaning, involved in making decisions, which is, that's bad enough, to be honest with you. But
Hmm.
it's. I just wanted to take a look at it from their side, their view. What do they think happened? Because we all know what happened, but what is their take, right? And we know these people are delusional as hell. So this isn't necessarily propaganda. It's might well be delusion, right?
Yeah.
So let's take a look here. Dungeons& Dragons exec Hal Brink says that at least part of the drama surrounding the recent open gaming licensing fiasco came from a lack of respect given to creative and community teams at Wizards of the Coast. All right, so he's blaming Hasbro. Okay.
Hmm.
Going forward, he says more members of those teams will be involved in high level decisions and their voices will carry more weight. Why? Why? Why would a team member who's in charge of maps or what have you have anything to do with executive decisions? It doesn't make any sense. It's just illogical. He's trying to put out fires, saying
Yeah.
it's okay, guys. We're going to have more of our team involved in decision making. Once again, completely oblivious to the actual problem, right?
Right.
Of course, it continues. The statements were made during an hour-long interview published by the three Black Halflings. And I got nothing against these guys. They are super woke, but it's a little teeny YouTube channel, bigger than ours, but it's not. If you want to, there are way bigger channels that are, like Nerdarchy. Anybody, right?
Mm.
If you want to talk about D&D. But that's okay. This is perfect thing for him to go, and he can virtue signal to the blacks. Because that's one of the things these white liberals love to do is to show the blacks how much they love them, right? I
Yeah.
saw a thing years ago. I mean, occasionally things happen that make your blood boil. That
No.
you're yes, yes, and you're happy you're not present at the time because blood would be shed, whether it be theirs or yours, right? Blood would be shed, and I saw a scene during this whole thing with George Floyd and that whole summer of nonsense. And there were a bunch of those black Jew, black pseudo Black Panther guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hebrew Israelites. Yeah.
Yeah, those idiots.
Or the Black Israelites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the absolute morons. But those guys, they were up there doing their thing, and those guys tend to have a bunch of black guys around them that are just flag holders. They don't really say anything, but they're buff as shit. I mean, they're just big, gigantic walls of muscle, right? They always have those with them, right? And they had one of those, and this little girl and her little soy boy boyfriend came up and she was literally kissing this black guy's boot. Oh my dude, my God, my dude.
Yeah, when all that stuff was going on, I lost a lot of faith in my people, my peoples, the American people specifically. Watching Americans kneel in reverence to somebody else bothers me. I don't like it. It
Yeah,
when it was, and it wasn't just in reverence, like you said. There was people literally kissing each other's boots.
yeah,
There was people literally, people would walk up to him and demand they take a knee, and they would just do it. That bothers me. It bothered me in a way I didn't know I could be bothered. Like I was
yeah, it
upset
bothers you.
for weeks
You know,
after that.
and it didn't matter particularly that they were black or not. That it wasn't really the point. But
Yep.
at the same time, I'm like, what is this young soy boy thinking? Because those black boys would run a train on that girl in half a second and feel justified doing so. That's their attitude, right? And that's a true danger of those kinds of people. Whether it doesn't matter their color, it's the attitude, right? But I just don't know if I was standing there and saw that. I don't know that I would not have got inserted myself into the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
oh
It's
my God,
it's craziness, man. It's one of those things that, especially considering everything else that was going on in the country at the time, it was just heartbreaking
it
to
was,
watch
it was.
so
Um,
many people fall for this obvious nonsense, this
yeah,
obvious psyop.
it's this so stupid. But once again, it's still here, and it's kind of evolved itself into a gay version of it, which is probably safer. But anyway, nevertheless, he goes on the show and he said, I was trying to protect the team from distractions. This was why he didn't let more voices be involved. Of course, that's not why, but anyway. Like discussing a licensing agreement so we can make the game, so we can make cool supplements of books. And I should have had more of my team in the room, and that's been corrected going forward. God, what a fucking cuck. Um, Tons is
Well, that
right.
now you know how he got to the level he's at rather,
Yeah,
uh, in
yeah,
that company. The cuckery. You see, they
yeah,
don't want people getting up there. The people who are the actual top aren't like that, and they want to make sure they put just the right amount of beta bitch in charge that can do the job, at least functionally, but will
publicly. Yeah,
never ever 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 be a threat to them
yeah,
in any way.
yeah,
So this is why you get men, and I use that word as loosely as I possibly can, like that. Just
yeah.
just simpering, weak, pathetic, harmless men who couldn't hurt anybody. And that to me is the most dangerous type of man, because that's the kind that snaps and ends up raping a woman or killing somebody or killing a kid or some crazy
Well,
nonsense.
all the nonsense with that kind of stuff comes out of them. We don't see our
Yep.
side of the aisle getting in trouble for those things. It's always them. It's the guys just like this, right? But
Yep.
anyway, then of course it goes into the whole debacle with the OGL, which we all know about. I don't need to cover that again. And of course, there were many things. The OGL leak itself was troublesome, and several there was their delayed response, and then their over responses, and then this right here, they won and so did we, kind of nonsense. And he takes no blame for that whatsoever. Says he was just as shocked as everyone else. He read it the same time everyone else did, which okay, that means you're shit at your job, right?
All right,
You have
Obama.
you
That
have
was always
no
Obama's excuse
right.
too.
I
Oh, I
know.
found out when everybody else did. Shut
Right,
up.
right. So it just means you're a bad manager, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He wasn't pleased with the post. So, of course, sure you weren't. And the committee that Brink is referring to is described throughout the interview as a collection of management executives and legal counsel tasks were refining the next version of the OGL. Well, you're done anyway, Brink and Watson. You screwed the pooch. You definitely screwed it.
Yep.
People have they've had enough because it was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't just that. It's been all this bullshit that's going on from idiots like Brink that have been put in charge, and everyone's just sick of it. Screw it. We'll go somewhere else. We'll go to someone who's
Right.
hungry for our money, who's want to do something new and different, and is in eager. Something like Paizo is going to benefit from this in ridiculous levels, right? As
Right.
is some of the other systems. But it's done. I mean, the absolute exodus from WotC is extreme, dude. It's extreme. I'm actually a bit shocked by it. But he's just going on, and of course, it's someone else's fault. It's not his. And then he starts talking about the lady in charge. Now, we talked about this, and I made the suggestion because Cynthia is coming over for what was Ford, right? They brought her over from Ford or GM or something like that, and she's an executive brought in to run WotC, and they have the new guy in charge of Hasbro in general, who used to be in charge of WotC, right? So they took the old CEO of WotC, moved him up. Because the Hasbro CEO died, moved him up a position and brought in a new executive to deal with WotC, and she's just an accountant, really. And she saw this and she's like, "You're wasting ridiculous amount of money," not understanding that the entire industry was built because of the OGL. She had no clue. No one bothered to tell her, right? And she's the one that prompted this, and he's blaming her squarely. It's her fault, right? And I'm sure for a greater part it is, but then people like you, Mr. Brink, who are supposed to know about this system and this world and this community, you should have informed her, but you didn't. But
Hmm.
they go on about this, and he just throws the blame over there. And of course, he made a couple of stupid statements to it. He's an absolute soy boy cuck. Without, I mean, it's sad. Go watch it. Go watch the video. Watch how cucky he is. And then, of course, they being Polygon and D&D or WotC, they had to end it with advertisement. The latest book, an anthology of adventures called Keys from the Golden Vault, is available now for digital pre-order. Physical book will be available February 21st. Thank you for the advertisement after blaming everyone else and not taking zero responsibility or answering any questions, really. The world we live in. I mean, look at it, dude.
It's a world where everybody has what I call fembrain, where people just refuse to take any kind of accountability
Yeah.
for anything,
Hmm.
and that is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a person. I very very much do not want to call him a man. We're dealing with a person who abjectly refuses accountability like it was some kind of flame that's going to burn him. Um, it's it's terrible to watch, and it's shocking how many of these people are in high positions of authority at many of these big companies. And
Hmm.
these companies, some of these companies are massive,
Yeah.
but they will take absolutely no accountability for anything. In fact, it was one of the few things about the cyberpunk nonsense that happened with Cyberpunk 2077 where at least the head honcho of the company came out and was like, "This is on me. I take the responsibility
Mm.
for it. I take accountability for it. It was my fault. I shouldn't have let it happen." At least there was that, right? There was at least
It's also
that.
quite cathartic to do so.
Yeah, yeah. And these hacks is the best word I can give you that get in these positions who have no business in those positions
Yeah.
because they're not leaders. Like this is supposed to be a lead position. This guy's not a leader. What he is he's a dude who's really good at the platitudes and he's completely unthreatening and unassuming.
Hmm.
So it's, people just kind of just do their job enough that they don't get fired, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with here.
And that's what the word hack is referring to, people who are incapable of the job given them, which is why we call J.J. Abrams a hack all the time because, he's a great cinematographer, but he's not other things. But he's taken on those helmets and tried to bear them, and he can't. And he's a hack, and this guy's a hack. There's so many hacks, and that's why we see writing has gone down and everything's gone down because these unskilled people have been given jobs because of politic instead of merit. Meritocracy, no matter what government system or economic system you might choose, meritocracy should always be preeminent. Always.
Yep.
Meritocracy is really what it is. And it's the true equalizer as well, right?
Yep.
But then again, we're not in a world of equality. We're in a world of equity, right?
Hmm.
Um,
So
and and
communism.
it would, sure, it's absolutely, one of the most evil things you can create. But
Yep.
nevertheless, I do love this picture that Polygon chose because they thought their virtuous, because Polygon, Polygon, they think they're virtue signaling by this picture. Same people at WotC thought the same thing when they put this in. But I'm wondering, when are the blacks going to get mad? When are they? When are you going to get mad about, because we talk about cultural appropriation? They are appropriating an entire goddamn race, dude.
Yep.
I mean, with
And
this,
it's
what
starting to
what?
happen. The problem is the same problem Malcolm X and the gang back in the day had is they control all the institutions that these quote quote white liberals as they're called. The reality is most of them are Jewish, but
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there. Uh, these people control all these institutions, and what they do is they virtue signal, like you said, and then they use the quote plight, as they would call it, of the black man in America as some sort of, some sort of weapon, cudgel to go after the people they hate, which is the conservative white guy.
yeah,
It's not even conservative white women that they hate so much because they know they can get to them eventually. It's the conservative white man who absolutely will not play along with their nonsense, and they know it because throughout all of history, it's been conservative white men who have refused their nonsense. So
yeah,
now
and have to
the
clean the
key one to
shit up.
use, yeah, every time. And now the key one that they use is race, specifically black, but they do other people too. They try they have this big pretend kumbaya moment that black and brown people get along. Uh-huh. Go hang out with them for a while. No,
Yeah.
they don't.
No, they
And
don't. Yeah.
it's silliness. It's a silly thing, but the people behind it, the people up at the tippy top, not the ones that like the BLM guys who bought a bunch of houses. They're like the middle managers who just got paid. The people at the tippy top of this stuff are evil, and
Oh
they're
yeah, they're
using
all
people's
European bankers, dude.
pain. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're using people's pain to make money
Yep.
and make power and get power over other
What's
people
new?
who they can't. The conservative white guy largely doesn't need them, and they can't stand that. That's why they don't
Well,
like them. It's got nothing to do with race or anything. It just happens to be that most of them are white men. They don't need them. They
yeah.
only need them so far as they can throw them. If it wasn't for the fact that the system makes, especially rural Americans, do everything with American money, which they still don't. But you know what I mean? Like official stuff has to be done with dollars. They wouldn't need them at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother geopolitical conversation. But I think one of the problem thing with the who whites, because in truth, any culture you go into the world, it's always the conservatives that they come in and clean shit up. It's not a white
That's right.
person thing. It's
Correct.
a normal human thing. But I think one of the problems with the who whites in general is the fact that we've modernized and become far too copacetic.
Yeah,
And we kind of, and the rest of the racial groups of the world have not, right?
that's right.
And Man, we should go a little bit back to that, that Viking thinking, and fuck those
I'm
English,
just saying our
kill them
entire
Slavs.
civilization, exactly, our entire civilization was founded by brigands and bastards.
Hmm.
Maybe we need to remember who we are. That's
Yep.
all I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
because it would put nothing in fear into any European soul more than the thought of a Viking sail on the horizon.
Oh my gosh, you want to get people correct real quick that their ancestors will scream through their bloodline, "Run!" You
Run,
see
dude,
some of that coming at you.
run.
Don't try to be a hero, just run.
Well, dude, it's amazing because they'd have these small little 30, 50 man crews, right? And
Yep.
their combat and military formation training was freaking devastating. I mean, you could have one of those small little crews go through a freaking army, dude. I mean, it's
Yeah.
insane what the Vikings were capable of doing, or the Scandinavians. A Viking is a verb
I
technically,
mean, I
but
don't know about now, but even up as recently as World War II era, they were still just crazy. They were just the Russians tried them. They tried the Finns. That didn't work.
I don't know.
That didn't work. That didn't work at all. They lost way too many people. The
They did.
ratio is obscene. In fact, it's a ratio that's supposed to be impossible according to like military strategists and theorists, right? But they did it. The Finns did it. So
Yeah.
Apparently, it's
It's a
not
certain
impossible.
quality. Yeah. But
Yeah.
back to this picture. Like I said, you know, in essence, what they're saying is that the black people's culture is so pathetic and useless that they can't do anything with it. Therefore, the only thing they can do to make black people relevant is to make them white.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Why Chester? Why can't these people just let people be?
I
Just let
know.
them be who they are.
And the thing is
People,
that
I actually, the crazy thing is my evil right wing brain. I'm like, you know what? If you just give them some time, they'll eventually get there. They'll figure it out. And we're seeing it happen in Africa. Whitey left Africa alone for a little while. I mean, we've been sending them stuff, but by and large, we've been leaving some parts of it alone. And you got places like Nigeria and a couple other places that are coming up that are figuring it out. They're getting to
yeah, well,
work. They're
since
putting
the
stuff
Great
together.
War, I'd say, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, to a point.
they're starting to catch up a little bit, and they're getting their stuff together. I honestly believe, deep down in the soul of our common soul of humanity, nobody wants to be at the bottom.
No,
Nobody. They
no.
just don't want to be down there. So if you show them what good can be,
Well,
eventually they're going to be, you know what? Why
except
don't
the
we just do
cholo,
that?
you know, that's
Well,
different.
why don't we just aim for that for a while? See if we just mimic them. That's what the East Asians did. The Europeans were clearly at the top for about 500 years. The East Asians were like, you know what? Maybe they got something figured out. And now you got Japan and Korea and China to some degree, much
Thailand,
better off than they
yeah,
were. Thailand, I
Indonesia.
mean, a whole bunch of places just
Oh,
way
they're
better off
definitely
than they
coming up.
were. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
but
simply because they took the ideas that work, that we've proven that work, and they just started implementing them. Now, it takes time to change culture. That's the problem we're seeing now. The reason why we have this divisive and derisive culture is because we have people trying to force it to change at a pace that suits them. And that's not how things work.
no,
Culture's a
it's
slow moving
inorganic.
animal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we did see recently with Viola Davis. She came out with that African-based story, and
Yep.
my point is, yeah, do more of that. Now they were
Yep.
idiots, and they did completely misunderstood that they
Hollywood
actually
in
were
it.
playing well because they didn't do their research, and they didn't
Yep.
understand that they were actually playing the villain. Right? That was
Yes.
their mistake. And the girl who was supposed to take the role, she did her research. They offered her the role. That I can't remember that Nuungu or whatever her name is. They offered her
Yep.
the role. She went and did her research. Good on her. And she was like, "Yeah, no, I ain't doing that." And then
Yeah. No, we're
Viola
not.
did it herself, I guess.
We're
But
not blackwashing this. It's basically
no,
what she said.
no,
We're not doing that.
no. But the concept of putting forward black African stories, yeah, okay, do that. Do more of that. Yeah, sure. If
Yeah.
that's what you're all about, then do that. Not this. Not this nonsense of this black girl in armor she probably could barely move around in. I mean, it's ridiculous. And especially at this era, this is the thing that gets me with the cultural appropriation and this whole this haircut you see right here. You realize how modern that is for black people?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is not a traditional thing. And the whole
No.
Rastafarian dreads and stuff is a very modern thing. Matter of fact, they probably got it from the Irish.
Don't tell them that, Chester.
Yeah,
They're very committed to this
they
idea that
are.
somehow they invented it,
They
and
are.
they just simply did not.
Yeah, but
In fact,
anyway.
their hair is not as good at it as our hair.
Mhm. Well, it also kind of feeds into the modern female thinking. We're getting a lot of this one little article, but my wife has been watching this Korean program of late, and it's a mix of Sasuke or American Ninja, American Gladiator, and the Squid Games. And they've mixed it all
Right.
together into a reality show. And they went and found mainly Koreans, but a few foreigners as well that are buff as shit. I mean, jacked. I mean, super jacked, right? And they put them
Hmm.
through a series of contests, okay, fine, easy, simple entertainment, right? And not a lot of there's no personal drama. This person's story, right?
Hmm.
It's just that kind of format. And of course, it's boys and girls, which is fine, but there seems to be no rule because at certain times they can choose one of the other competitors to challenge. If they've gotten that pull, that lottery pull, they can choose their opponent, right? And some of the girls decided they were going to challenge guys, right? Now, I mean, and it shows you the modern female thinking, right? Because even in the best of situation, if you take one of these girls are absolute jacked. I mean, jacked to the point where they've made themselves disgusting looking, right? And you know whatever makes you happy. But you could take that girl and put her against a guy who's a couch potato and plays video games all day, and chances are he's going to win, just by
Yeah,
the ratio of it, simply because the strength. These aren't some of the stamina ones. The girls would outlast them because these girls are physically fit. But the physical wrestling and things like that, the guy's just got to win by default because of the strength level is so out of balance in the difference,
right.
right? But several of them are challenging these guys, and of course, the guys they're challenging are absolute jack. I'm jacked. I'll talk about rugby players and things like this. And this one girl went against an actual Korean I think a champion boxer, and she's jacked as shit, right? And she went and picked him, and he's you could see, Koreans are extremely macho, by the way.
Yeah,
It's an incredibly unfair and embarrassing situation to put that guy in because what does he do? He can't lose to her, but he also can't show he's trying, right? It's not fair,
mm,
and I'm assuming some of it might have been these girls thinking they could take advantage of that, right?
right.
But she's trying to pull him down. She's trying to do this stuff, and she looks bigger than him because she's big, jack buffed. But of course, he's just kind of walking away from her, literally dragging her. And it's just a ridiculous modern thought. Whereas the girls who went and challenged other girls and won went on to the next stage, right? Because the
Right.
prize is like $30,000 or something like that. It's not bad, little prize for a TV show, and they get taken care
Mhm.
of and catered, and they were very excited when they all got big jars of protein. You know how those gym rats are. Um, but but I'm just saying that it's the modern thinking. It's like, what are you doing, girl? Because that girl is quite strong for a girl. And if she had challenged one of the other more skinnier athletic girls in that particular competition, she had the advantage. But no, she threw not her, it was several of them. They threw it away because in their brain they think they can take them.
Well,
And
you
it's
can find videos of girls that go on these podcasts, these younger girls, usually they're younger, but not always, who there'll be men on the podcast and they'll ask them, do you think you could basically if you could take this guy or that guy in a fight? And usually they're not even that big of guys; they're just normal size or small guys. And they're like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, I'll kick his ass, blah 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 blah. They're so cocksure, so confident that they can beat up somebody or they're more powerful than a man, and it's just a massive rude awakening because what they'll do is it's like, all right, stand up, let's see if you can, let's see what you can do, and they'll try something, and the guy just stands there, and it's just no
right.
effect,
Well, I
and
mean,
it's like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
in those
You don't know what you're
situations,
doing.
there are certain situations where a fit girl is going to have advantage, right?
Sure.
For sure. But in those things that are pure strength, no. And it's like, what are you doing? Stop it,
Yeah.
right? You're not being smart, right? You're not
Right.
thinking strategically. But the
A
one, the
game of agility or a game of swiftness, not full speed, but swiftness, a woman could easily win against a man. But when it comes to like flat out full on speed or flat out full on strength, they're just not. They don't have the physical power to do it
no, yeah.
against most men.
Oh,
It's
sure.
just reality.
Stamina things, they're going to be great at it because,
Yep.
especially the guy doesn't have stamina, and things that involve center of gravity, lower body strength. Women have advantage in those
Yep.
situations. But I'm
Hand-eye
not
coordination.
right. I'm not
Um,
talking about that. We're talking about literally wrestling over a ball, right? And that's
yeah,
no. They're wrestling over a medicine ball. You're not going to win that no matter what you
especially
say.
a rugby player
Oh, that was
who
so ridiculous, dude. She thought she
like,
was the bomb, and it's a bit and
what
that's
are
not
you
that.
doing?
I know, dude, but it's not even that, that gym rat body, and those guys aren't, they look strong, but they're not as powerful as they look. But a rugby player, and he was a rugby, big, tall rugby, thick rugby player, like a lineman. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, and of course, all he did was just kind of walk around and as she pulled on him, right? Uh, which is but I mean, it's just that modern sensibility. They're not helping themselves. Anyway, let's move on,
Yeah.
because I do have some other nonsense to get to here today. Uh, oof,
Oh boy. Rumor Disney Plus to license exclusive series to other streaming services in order to help offset operational losses. Now
losses.
we know that a lot of these shows, especially the last year, have bombed. They did not do anywhere near as
No,
well as they thought they were going to do or they wanted them to do, and it has shown. And everybody, a lot of people tried to, genuflect and pretend that wasn't happening. But yeah, and I wouldn't be. I'd be very surprised if this rumor was untrue.
hmm
Disney is hurting when it comes to the liquidity of their the money supply. The MCU is faltering. They don't have anything really Star Wars besides the series that they have down, at least not for a while. So Disney's kind of hurting when it comes to the movie making side, the entertainment side. The parks, I guess, are still killing it, but everything else is really struggling. And Disney's been in situations like this before, and they always find a way to bounce out of it. But
mm,
this one here is very unsurprising. I
yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know anybody who, besides maybe they watched some of the stuff once or whatever. I don't know people who've gone back and watched them multiple times.
yeah,
The
none of it.
WandaVision was decent until the end, and then it just the whole the whole interest in it, the premise of it completely was over,
Right.
and it was basically just a show about a witch, and it wasn't a good one. So they just haven't really hit like they needed them to. There've been a couple that were really successful. Obviously, Mandalorian's doing really well, or has done really well. And then I guess that Andor show is actually really good,
But no
but
one
it's too
watched it.
little, too late. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's too little, too late. No one
yeah,
cares anymore about Star Wars. You
yeah.
you kill you literally killed the golden goose.
Well,
Somehow, Disney, you thought you thought in your hubris and in your zealotry that you could get away with
yeah.
betraying the fans of Star Wars when you were literally chosen by George Lucas and by the people who threw all the money into you in the first in Force Awakens. The reason they did that is because they thought you were going to save Star Wars. You were going to fix it, fix George Lucas's problems, quote unquote, with the prequels, and we were going to get good Star Wars again, and Star Wars was going to be saved, and da 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 da. And what did you do with it? What did you do with it? By the second movie, you turned Luke Skywalker into a psychopathic coward cuck who tried to murder his own nephew in his sleep.
Yeah,
That's what you
boy.
did with it.
Talk about way out of left field. But we talked about this before, and we know that just a few days ago, the information came out that another 2.5 million subs have been lost from Disney Plus. Another.
Yep.
So what is that? That's half a. That's 5 million loss in the past few months that we
Yep.
know of. And they're bleeding. And it also brings up the conversation we've had before, where there was not too long ago there were a lot of rumors floating around that one of the big companies was going to come in and buy Disney, right?
Yes.
So I wonder if that's back on the table. But Disney basically, and what this article is talking about is them not paying for anything, getting paid. So some other company making a Disney product and just simply buying the license to do so. And I'm sure they'll have things in there that it's required that it be streamed at least initially on Disney Plus. That's what they're
Right.
doing because they don't have money to put it in anything, right? And of course, they
Right.
just fired a lot of people. They're going to fire more, I am sure. And of course, the firings of tens of thousands of people altogether has been going on the past year. But yeah, I mean, Jesus, Disney's in a real pickle, and they deserve to be there, to be honest.
Yep. They've put themselves in this situation because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of them, the big one, is hubris.
It is,
They
I
saw
think,
the
to a point. Yeah,
massive successes of the Force Awakens, and obviously Endgame was, one of the biggest movies of all time. I think it is technically the biggest now, and they just there's too much hubris. And then you have guys like Feige, who I tried to tell everybody he's going to stab us all in the back, and that's exactly what he did.
he did.
Um, he He betrayed his core audience, and we're starting to see now. You see, as the belts start to tighten around the world because of this economic situation, I'll call it, that we're in, you're going to start to see more and more of this, where there's going to be a lot less expenditure on frivolous entertainment. And whether Disney likes it or not, they've made themselves into frivolous entertainment. They used to have, they still do, but they had Star Wars, man. Star Wars
Yeah,
movies was like mandatory viewing for anybody that
yeah,
was even remotely aware of nerddom or just in general for
yeah.
most people
It,
between my age and your age.
it
And
yeah,
they killed it.
it might be one of the worst failures in history. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's insanely bad, and of course we're seeing this across the board, which brings us into these next conversation here, because yeah, go ahead.
James Gunn's DCU slate, rumored to be bait for potential buyer,
Hmm.
allegedly has secret plan in case Apple, Amazon, or Universal gobble up Warner Brothers. Now it's funny because I said this a while ago
We did we
that
talked about it, yeah, when
yeah,
Zaslav
that
came
I
in.
think
Yeah,
that's what the axe is there to do. He's cutting
yeah,
the fat. He's getting rid of anything that looks like a bad idea on paper. On paper, I don't think he even cares about what he sees necessarily on his screen more so than on paper. So if it looks like a bad idea on paper that he can present to somebody who's going to try and buy it, he doesn't want it. For some reason, that doesn't include Ezra Miller. I don't know why, but for some
well,
reason, it doesn't.
it,
So if it looks good on the paper, if it looks good on the spreadsheets, he's handing it off and he's going to start putting it out there, right? Because these companies are always for sale. Never
right.
make no mistake. If you're a company like this, you're always for sale.
Well,
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what's happening here. And James has been told, listen, the plan is to try and sell this company. It's too underwater. We're never going to dig it out of this hole. So we need to sell off the properties and
right.
do what we got to do.
And it makes the whole Ezra Miller thing makes more sense if that's the fact, actually,
Yep.
if you think about it.
Yep.
And if it's true that Zaslav, the Discovery bought it to simply try to flip it for a profit and put Zaslav in to clean it up and make it more desirable, and James Gunn was brought in to try to put some shine on that apple, right? Um,
Hmm.
I wonder if there's some truth to this. I mean, what a play! What a play! I mean, but the thing in the end, if they did do that, don't you think that would put a little bit of an ugliness on the Discovery guys coming
It
in and
depends how
buying
much
a
they.
company just to flip it like that?
Nah, nah. Companies do it all the time.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think it would be actually probably pretty smart, and part of it could have been they may not have realized how bad the damage was. Right? They may have had an idea of it, but then once they actually got the reins, it became very apparent that there's just no saving this sinking ship. So it very well could just be that's what the plan is. You could even see them piecemeal parts of it off. You have they're a huge company
well,
with
they would
many, many
have to,
properties and things under it.
because
Yeah,
I don't
they
think
could
the
piece
FCC
it
would
off.
allow a complete purchase of Warner from one of these big multimedia companies. I don't think they would allow
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Which
So
actually would be the best scenario for if DC itself got splintered away from everything else and just sent to one of these other companies. It would probably be for the best because
maybe.
then it would be able to be taken care of directly and not as just part of another company.
And you would have a group
Uh,
of people who are hungry for it. That's what you need, right?
yes, yes.
So it would. I mean, I don't see it being sold wholesale. It would have to be broken into pieces. Now, of course, Warner Brothers Discovery Warner Brothers, whatever they're calling it, it has many parts. There's a
Hmm.
lot of chunks of things in there that they could sell off, and in the end, they wouldn't even have to necessarily sell all of it, right?
Yep.
And they would that would definitely cut the fat, right?
Here's the crazy one though. Of these that are listed, who do you think would be the one to make the big offer? I think if I'm going to pick one, it's Apple
Yeah,
because we know Apple is looking.
to
There's
get in
all
the
there's too
game.
many rumors, right, of them trying to get in the game for them not to be really trying to get in the game. And if it isn't going to be Disney, then Warner would be the
Yeah,
next
Disney's
best
in no
snag.
position to do such a thing anyway. They're
Yep.
so in debt. Apple has got revenue just simply spilling out their ears.
Yes.
Amazon as well, but Amazon. Um, I would say Amazon would probably lean more toward the wanting Disney, to be honest with you.
Yep, me
Universal,
too.
I don't know that they actually have a strong enough play in this, but I would go to Apple as well because they have the money. Even though they're an evil ass company, they're just making money hand over fist, and they have no debt. They have nothing
Yep.
outstanding, and they have been making a lot of noise with their Apple TV, which is a failure, but they really want to get into the game. And Apple coming in and wanting to pick some like Jesus, can you imagine Apple advertising, freaking DC characters all day long everywhere? Oh Jesus.
Oh man, it'd be huge. It would
Yeah.
be. We've both said it. This for DC, the best thing that could happen is a serious company get control of them
Yeah.
and get them out there. And I think if it's not going to be Apple, Amazon would work too. The only problem with Amazon is Amazon just bought MGM, right? They just
Yeah.
bought Metro Goldwyn Mayer. So if they are going to take up another classic, another old school original type company's catalog, that would probably be too big of a bridge for the government to allow them to cross.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Um,
agree with that. But also keep in mind with Apple, particularly out of these three, a lot of people are, well, they're super woke. Yes, they are. But I don't know
yep.
you get any more woke than Warner Brother putting out a cartoon that had literally had Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn scissoring on screen. I don't
Mm.
know that you get more woke than that.
I mean,
Well,
could
I
have
mean,
turned one of them into a dude, I guess.
well,
But other
no,
than that,
but that happened.
yeah.
It's
Oh, I'm
real,
aware.
right?
I'm aware.
Anyway, I don't want to spend much time on it. I basically put this here to kind of tag into this because we're seeing a lot of this, and I kind of wondering if behind the scenes Disney and Warner Brothers, or at least pieces of Warner Brothers, are really up for sale. And keep in mind, there is another voice in this conversation that they didn't mention here in this article, and that's Sony.
It,
Because Sony wants in the game too. I mean, because they've been failing with their IPs, and of course that has a lot to do with the Buchos in Tokyo not controlling it and thinking, no, let the Americans handle it. They know, right? No, they don't.
yeah.
And eventually you're going to have the authority in Tokyo step up and just take the reins back. Is what you really need to see happen. And I think it will eventually because Sony is bleeding in some ways. But anyway, let's move on because this is just a little interlude.
Idris Elba rejects identity politics, reveals he's no longer refers to himself as a specifically black actor.
Hmm.
I don't want to be the first black. I'm the first Idris.
Hmm.
Isn't Idris like 60? He's getting
Yeah,
up there.
he is old, but black don't crack, they say. And he is, to be fair, Idris is a great actor.
He is.
He's a very handsome man. He's very charismatic. I mean, he's the real deal, right? He's the real deal. And But I mean, it took you long enough, Mister. I mean, Jesus, right? I mean,
Yeah,
because he's been the black choice for a while because he is badass. That's the reason why. I mean, he's the current Denzel Washington is what he is. He's just a British version of it, right? But it took you long enough. You've been playing off your blackness for decades, brother.
yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're not black because they only offer you black roles. And in this thing, he's kind of sick of every time he sits down in an interview, they're asking about tell us about the racism you've experienced, and he's like, fuck, basically. He's sick of it, and it's like, well, yeah, because I mean, honestly, Mister Elba, how much racism have you actually experienced in your life? I mean, if you go talk to any black person and you actually sit down and have a conversation with them, they'll automatically say, "Of course, I felt racism." They'll say that automatically. But if you sit
Yep,
down and actually have a conversation with them and try to get to the nitty gritty, you'll find that no, they haven't.
yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, especially if you're in America, go try to find a racist that is not of a POC, variant. Go find it. Go
Uh-huh.
because even those, the Klan. I mean, the KKK is so diminished. There's literally a couple thousand of them worldwide, right?
And most of them are feds.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But go listen to them these days. Go listen to them. They're a bunch of cucks too.
Hmm.
They're not proper racist at all. I mean, well, Jesus, I'm
What we
disappointed.
need, good old proper racism. I
Well, I'm
agree.
just saying, if you're a KKK member, you should be a freaking hater. I mean, you should be
Yep.
like, burn them, kill them, lynch them. I mean, that's what a KKK is. I mean, they're Democrats after all. But listen, go listen, go. You can find YouTube videos. Go listen to these so-called, these alt writers, these racist groups, and literally KKK is a racist group. But go listen to them. They're all
Yep.
inclusive now.
Yep.
So I mean, it's an illusion, particularly in black communities. And you this is you don't have to listen to me on this. Go listen to some of the black voices on this. They grow up in an environment where everyone's telling them all the time that the white man, is out to get you all the time. And even though they
Hmm.
occasionally see a white person here or there, they don't interact with them. They are very, very stuck in this little subculture of their black community only. And there are
Yep.
several of them that have said, I finally just went up and started talking to a white person. And you know what? They were normal.
Funny how
Because
that works.
well, it's funny. I mean, the actual racism, true racism coming out of a white person is a rarity. It is a
Yep.
rarity. Like I said, we've become in our modernity far too copacetic, right? It's just not the reality. I'm sure he has felt racism from other blacks
Hmm.
or other racial cultural people who have not become copacetic, who do
Well,
have a
even if he
cultural identity.
even if he has, right? Say he's met a white guy or whatever who didn't like him because he was black. Um, he doesn't want to dwell there.
Yeah, and
Like
that's
if
what
you
the
ever
point
have
he's
a
making.
genuine negative experience like that, you don't want to fucking talk about it every other minute.
Right.
You'd like to talk about the cool stuff you're doing, and he does some cool shit.
He
So why can't
does.
he just talk about that?
And he's just sick
Like
of it.
this,
It's really
yeah,
what it is. Yeah.
exactly. He's just it goes back to that. He's actually 50. I looked it up. I thought he was older than that, but he's only 50. Um, it goes back to that Morgan Freeman he did that interview years ago now, probably about 20 years
Yeah.
ago,
It's good
where
interview.
he just says, "Stop calling me a black man.
And
I
I'll
know you
stop
by
calling
your
you a
name. You know me
Jew.
by."
What a great comment. It was so beautiful, dude. I loved it. Morgan Freeman is what base? Is that the term I'm supposed to use? Base. Morgan
But
Freeman
his
is
overarching point
base.
is correct. If you want people to see you as equal, stop delineating yourself.
Yeah,
Stop it.
and that's true. And of course, he makes the point in here that that the people who are doing this are the ones that he has to deal with it inside the industry. Right? He's made that very
Yeah.
clear. And of course, he's right. It's the noisiest troublemakers and all the shit we see going on is coming out of white progressives. It is the
Yes.
whites that are causing the problem. And, Malcolm X, for all his flaws, one of the greatest statements he ever made was the worst thing that the black man has to deal with is a white liberal. He
Yes.
100%, right? And
They're
that's
trying to
true.
help. Just
Although
ask them. They're trying to help.
they are trying to help, but I do love this little line here. The Sonic the Hedgehog 2 star.
Star. I
Oh,
mean, he
God,
was a
who wrote
voice
this?
actor.
Who wrote this? Spencer.
Spencer.
Goodness
Now
gracious.
I'll say this: he played Knuckles. Yeah, he was a voice of Knuckles.
He is, yeah.
Um, Knuckles is great in that movie, but you can't say Idris is it's silliness. He's the voice actor. He didn't star in the film.
But the
He's
point is,
cast in it.
we see this all the time. There are so many other things you can acclaim to him
Yes,
other than
yes.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Jesus. Goodness
Knuckles
gracious.
is great though in that movie. Knuckles
Yeah,
is probably the best part of that whole film. But yeah, no, it's silly. It's
it is
again,
silly.
that's going to
Yeah,
be the word of the day. It's silly
yeah.
to only credit him to or to even choose that of all the great things he's been a part of. You pick Sonic 2.
I know
That's
it's
the
weird,
one.
and of course with Idris, this ties into the next one because he was in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Fast X director shares more information about Jason Momoa's androgynous villain.
Okay. Soak that up for a minute.
Oh boy.
Soak it. You can do it.
Oh
I want
boy. Yeah.
anybody in here to to make. I would love someone to explain to me how you're ever in your wildest imaginations going to make the bro man Jason Momoa androgynous. Please,
That's a very
please.
good question, Chester. That's a very good question. They're going to find a way, though. They'll have him out there prancing. They'll probably put him in a dress. Because that's the thing in Hollywood. The sickos in Hollywood really try their damnedest to get men in dresses, and I don't know what that is.
They always have.
But if you ever notice,
They
yeah, if
always
you
have.
ever notice, these stars always have to do this thing where they put on a
Yeah.
dress.
They always, yeah. It's yeah,
Yeah,
and I could get into the potential, you know, Saturnist reasons for that, but I'm not gonna.
yeah,
But there, excuse me, potentially there is a little bit of cultism to that. But I mean, it's just funny because Jason Momoa is the ultimate bruh.
yeah. He's a bruh, dude.
He's a bruh. That's what he is, and he does it well. He's noisy. He's an activist. He's a typical Hollywood shithead. But his whole persona is bruh. I mean, he's
Yeah,
more bruh than Dwayne Johnson, dude.
yeah. I'd
Yeah.
agree. He's that's kind of his whole thing. It's why he should have been Lobo.
Oh, he'd
Like
been
if
perfect because
that
Lobo is a bruh.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a bro. He's just a
Yeah.
bro, dude. He's just super bro. That's all. Uh, if James Gunn is gonna do that, which you remember that rumor that he was gonna keep him around but make him Lobo instead,
It would be
uh,
smart.
that would
Yeah.
be that'd be smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I have no idea what they're gonna do. I was shocked actually that they had him on to play a villain, especially because I don't. He hasn't played many villains. He's done a couple roles,
Yeah,
but
but
not
he'll have
typically.
fun though, because that's the best parts to play.
Yeah,
But
but I
it's
hope
just
this
the
movie's good.
androgyny of it.
Actually,
How? How are you going to do it? Are you going to shave him? Are we going to see
they're
a
gonna. I'm telling you,
shaven,
they're gonna have him in
a
goofy
shorn?
clothes. Goofy clothes. They're gonna have him waltzing around, prancing around, doing that sort of stuff. Uh, he's gonna be what the word is. He's gonna be very flaming. We'll call it that. He's gonna flame be. It'll be his mannerisms more so than his appearance, if I had to guess.
Probably, and he'll yuck it up, I'm sure. But I
Yeah.
might pay pay the price of a ticket to see a shorn Jason Momoa, though. I might. But how's his Hawaiian tribe? Well, you guys probably haven't seen Jason in his native environment. Uh, when he is doing with the Polynesian stuff, he is he's a full blown flower child.
Yeah.
I mean, full blown. This guy is, and I know his persona is the bra, and he's been doing that since Stargate, right? Um,
Right.
but he is actually this soft, tender cuck boy, is what he really is. So I'm sure he can play the androgynous. I'm sure that might even be closer to his real self, to be honest with you. But that's not the character he has promoted over the years and made a lot of money on, and he does well. But
Yeah.
then again, we've seen many actors who are capable of doing that. You know, a really good example is Gomer Pyle, right?
hmm
With I can't remember his name offhand. Why can't I?
Um. Oh, Chester. What was his
Neighbors, Jim
name?
Neighbors.
Yes.
God damn it! All right, I got to get that out. All right, but Jim Neighbors, he played Gomer Pyle. He's a very successful singer, and never in there did you see any kind of fruitiness going on. But in reality, he is a flamboyant gay, right? Not just gay like a Dave Rubin gay. He's flamboyant, right? I actually met him, right? Wonderful man, by the way. But it's nothing that you would imagine with seeing him play his roles. And there are other examples like that, and Jason Momoa is one of them. But
Right.
it's just it doesn't mean anything. I just thought it was funny. I was like, how are you going to do that? How are
Well,
you going to
I
do that?
what I was gonna say is I'm actually looking forward to this movie. The last one was a little. Well, I mean, they're all a little ridiculous, but that one was like really, really ridiculous. We'll see what they do with 10. Because as far as I understand, they're making technically only one more, but they're splitting it up into two parts, and we'll see how it does. I don't
Yeah,
know. I really. I've surprisingly grown to really like the Fast movies. I think it's
Yeah, they're just popcorn
oh,
schlock. It's just fun schlock. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's mainly just because so much of the other I had to sneeze there. So much of the other stuff has become such trash. And I don't mean trash in like, oh, it's a bad movie. I just mean like it's full of nonsense. It's all about politics and they have a message and there's just woke trash that it's nice that there's a movie series out there that isn't and has been going this whole time and so far has stuck to its core moral message, which is, family. We all seen the memes, family. Uh, I approve of that. I appreciate that. It's almost wholesome in a way. A
Yeah,
series that
it
when it
is.
came out was I remember this. There was a lot of people outraged at how sexualized it was and things because it was very about that subculture and it was obviously geared towards young men, which you're not allowed to do anymore. And it's grown into this outrageous action series with
Superhero-esque almost.
almost superhero-esque and very wholesome, and I approve of that. I like that.
I mean, matter of fact, Idris Elba's character in the spinoff there was a cyborg. It is superhero-esque. But anyway, I just thought it was funny. So let's move on to our my kind of last big thing of today because damn, dude, this shit is
Here it
not going
comes.
away.
Transgender Montana. I cannot speak today. State legislator voices approval for Hogwarts Legacy Twitch tracking list. Quote, it's bad to pay for a game based on an IP that directly funds a turf.
Mm, and
Chester, I
I
didn't
spelled it
used to,
turf wrong. Oh well.
yeah, I didn't used to care about transgender people one way or the other, but I've decided that ones like this I despise.
Yeah, they're
If you
hurting
want to be if
themselves.
you're just hurting yourself, man.
Mm,
Like what are you doing? You're not winning this battle. I know you think you're going to win this battle, but one, she's unbeatable. She just is. There's nothing they're going to do to get her. They've already tried everything they've got. They fired every shot in their gun at her. They're not going to touch her. She's too big to fail, I guess,
Rowling. Yeah.
Miss Rowland. And what are we doing here? So now we're going to start calling her names and we're going to attack a video game that largely, aside from the fact that she's going to get a little bit of money off of it, has nothing to do with her at all.
Right.
There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people who've worked on this game either directly or indirectly who you are hurting
Yeah.
because they dared to take a job because it hurts your feelings. She doesn't like you
Yeah.
being in women's
And
spaces. Well,
and
get over
she
yourself,
wasn't even
you
involved in the
pussy.
scripting at all. She had no
Nothing.
involvement in this movie, this game. But
Yeah,
the Twitch tracking list they're talking about is this right here. And of course, it was only up 24 hours. But you had this person that was basically trying to out or dox people, in essence. This Sam Gibbs person, trying to dox them for daring to stream and talk about uh, this game. And that's kind of the reason I put this up here is we know what's been going on, and I've noticed recently all the, for a while everybody was talking about that, but now you're just seeing a lot of Harry Potter content on YouTube, just lore and information. Back to the fun, really, it's kind of going back to the fun. But these people haven't stopped; they're still going. Of all this nonsense, they're trying to dox people, attacking people, trying to get people canceled. It's just full bore. They cannot let this go. It is a dog with a bone. They
yep,
just are against that wizard game, as they're calling it. We know they're
yep.
all absolute diehard fans of it, so they're literally eating themselves alive. But this
Yeah,
right here is a little different because let them. But this right here, this is a Montana state legislator. She's
I would love to
literally
know.
in a governmental position, and she is approving publicly, thought she needed to come out and speak, or he, or wherever you want to refer to her, that doxing and creating blacklists openly in public is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, harassing people.
Hmm.
That's what it's called. It's harassing and stalking. Let's
Yeah,
call it what it is.
isn't that
We call it doc.
illegal?
We give them these nice little names, but doxing cyber stalking. That's what you're doing. Stop pretending you're anything other than a freak, a stalker freak, because you are. You're scum. You're the scum of the earth, and the world will be better off without you. Anybody who's for doxing is scum. Genuine human trash. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you think you're my buddy. If you're for pro doxing, you're trash. Now, if somebody does something horrific, dox the shit out of them, right? Because their actions have warranted that behavior. Somebody plays a video game with a transgender character central in it, by the way,
Well,
the
they did
character
that to
that they
try to
showed there,
assuage them. Yeah.
with that character in it, affirming transgenderism is fine and whatever the hell else you want to call it, and you still have a problem simply because J.K. Rowling doesn't like the fact that men that are born men decide one day that they're not a man and now they can compete in female sports ad nauseum or
What
go
have
into
you?
women's bathrooms or
Yeah.
what have you.
But
She just doesn't like that. That's it. She's totally fine with the fact that you exist. She'll use all your little pronouns. She'll play all your little games. She just won't let you in what she considers female spaces. And that, for some reason, warrants death threats and life ruination attempts. And
mhm.
unfortunately for them, she's too big to get. The only way they could actually get her is physical violence
Yeah,
because there's
which they
nothing else they're going to
threaten.
be able to do to her.
Which
Yeah,
they
which they
threaten.
threaten all the time.
Um, and shocking that a hardcore feminist would think so. But I love this political speak here. Look at this. Though she claims to disagree with using it for the purpose of targeted harassment, a transgender member of the Montana state legislature has voiced approval for the recent shuttered Hogwarts Legacy's Twitch tracking list. Well, the only purpose is harassment. So if you
Yeah,
support it, well, then you do support targeted harassment. So what are you
correct. Yeah,
saying? Typical
you
political
can play
speak.
the little gaslighting nonsense game you want. The only reason why anybody would need that information directly in an easily formatted list is for harassment purposes. If you don't want to watch somebody because they played a game, most likely if you're a fan of that person already, you're going to know if they're playing the game. You don't need a special list otherwise. You just don't.
Mhm.
So don't give
Wow.
me this crap that there was anything else.
Wow.
Yeah, look at this.
I take
It's
by
creepy.
back the two times I said her. I take it back.
How did that happen in Montana? How did this person get?
It
Because I've
is
been to
creepy, dude.
Montana, and Montana is even the Democrats over there are gun-toting conservatives.
Mhm.
Like it's about as far right of a state as it gets, Montana. And how did this get elected? Is my
Well,
question.
you
Now
know,
I'm sure there's plenty of transgender people in Montana. That's fine, live your life. But how are you getting elected to public office in a place like that?
because it's the modern right thing to do, I guess. But I guess I'm just a racist because if they pass, if they're passing, I have no
Yeah,
problem using the
me
he
neither.
or she the she. But no, this ain't passing, dude. This is just,
No.
this is a costume. Whereas you got someone like, say, there's a few conservative voice. I think one, her name is Blair White. She's
Yeah.
been on several of the conservative podcasts. Um, Now that girl, who is a guy, but that girl is mega pass, right? I mean, she's quite attractive woman, actually.
Mhm.
And so if they pass, they put all that hard
Still
work
has
and
the dick
effort.
though.
I don't know. Okay, but if they put all that, but if they put all that effort in and they were able to pull that off, I'm like, all right, good enough, right?
That's my
But
rule.
yeah, it
That's always
just
my rule when it comes to that stuff. If you're willing to go the whole way and make it so my eyes don't know it just by a glance, I'll call you whatever you want. I'll
yeah,
call
that's just
anybody
the dude.
whatever name they want to be called. If you want to go by
Sure,
Shirley and
why
you're
not?
clearly a
Yeah.
Stan, I don't care. Fine, you're Shirley. That's your business. But I won't play the pronoun game because it makes me have to lie to myself. If I can't tell, I'm not lying to myself. No, there's no deception. But if you clearly look like that and you're telling me I have to call you a woman, I'm going to say you're either the ugliest woman I've ever seen and that's unfortunate for you or you're a dude.
hmm
Simple as
And
that.
I would argue the fact that Zooey Sefer was born with that name.
I highly,
Now,
highly,
I don't
highly
think
doubt it.
your parents named you Zooey or their name was Zephyr. Uh, wow, Montana, Montana, get a grip, Montana.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can see this all across the Western
I
world right now.
honestly, Chester, I'm going to tell you the truth. I honestly believe a lot of this started either by the company or at one of their whoever's doing their advertising as a sort of like buzz campaign, and it just got out of control. I because there's companies who do this all the time. I know I used to work with people who did it, who will go out. They'll pay people to go out and spread negative information and negative energy about their product or their policy or their politician or whatever, because it gets people talking and it puts the people in their camp. It riles them up, right?
Mhm.
It gets the sides riled up. So here's what we've seen happen here. That happened, right? And that obviously worked to great effect. You got the lefties and the trannies and all these people all riled way up. But the counter to it happened as well. All the people on the other side of the argument, or people who just, don't care, saw this ridiculous overreaction from these people and doubled down on, you know what? I'm going to buy it just out of spite. Whole
Yeah,
lot of people did
maybe,
that. So
and
I
it
honestly
kind of
think
just
that that's how it
cascaded.
started, and
Yeah.
it's just gone insane.
Well,
These people are so lunatic. They're such lunatics they can't help themselves.
how many of them, and of them, I mean, of this growing trend toward homosexuality, how many of them do you think are actual sodomites, though?
It's a good question because a lot of these trans people, trans men who turn into women, become lesbians.
Uh huh.
So you're just a straight dude who likes to dress up like a woman. Like, just be that.
And to
Why
be
do you got to
all
have your own
honest,
gender?
throw a pair of tits on me, I'd certainly enjoy the mirror more.
But my point is, a lot of them do that. So not as many as you would think. I bet not as many as you would think.
Let's ask my wife. Wife, should I get some fake tits? Yeah, I could be like a big double D booby lady. Chinaman and big boobies. There you go. That's her dream. There you go. Perfect. Um, but yeah, I really wonder because like with Ezra, with him the way he acted and stuff he was doing, I didn't even care, but I didn't question that he's a gay man. But now that all the information's come out, he ain't gay. He's not gay at
No,
all. He
he's a
likes
pedophile.
little girls,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is a it's kind of a refreshing change because they're usually after the little boys. But no, he's a straight up heterosexual. So
Yes.
I'm just wondering how many of them are actually sodomites. I guess it doesn't really matter. But boy, they won't let this shit go, dude. They will not let
No, they
this shit
won't.
go. Look at this.
Yeah, I saw this. Activists launch violent attacks against Asmongold after he blasts Hogwarts Legacy boycotters. That's a lot of A words in that
It
sentence.
is. It is. But, first thing on Asmongold, I think I made an offhand comment last week, but or sometime last week. Um, this is an interesting success story for me, right?
Yeah,
Because Asmongold is your quintessential basement geek, right?
yeah.
He's
Lived with his
exactly
mom, all the thing, the whole
right.
deal.
The whole
Yeah,
deal, right? And he was teaching how to get through levels, how to do this for video games, quite useful.
right.
And he became a mega YouTuber. And
And
he's made a
Twitch
lot of
streamer.
money. And look how
Yep,
better looking he is. You remember when he started? You remember?
yeah.
He was the perfect poster child for an incel. Look how good looking he is now. You go, boy. No, seriously, he's improved himself radically, dude. He really has.
He got new teeth because
Yeah,
his teeth were rotten because
yeah.
he didn't take
The
care of them.
hair is not greasy.
He tried to blame the fact that he was poor. I was poor. I couldn't go to the dentist. What are you talking about, bro? I've been poor in my life and not been able to go to the dentist. At least I had my teeth.
He's just an
Toothpaste
incel.
ain't that
Yeah,
expensive. What are you talking
yeah.
about?
But I mean, boy, what a change. He's a good looking man. Who knew, right?
I
And,
actually do think he's got this weird handsomeness to him. He's
yeah,
not like, he's not Henry Cavill handsome or anything, but it's the photogenic nature of his face
yeah, I think
and the
so.
fact that
Yeah,
he's a fairly charismatic speaker.
yeah.
And he doesn't stutter a lot. He doesn't
No,
like I just did. He
and
doesn't do that a lot.
he
So,
offers a good service too. If you're a video
yep,
gamer, he's got content that will help you. It's actually useful for the video game world. But I'm just saying, good for you. Congratulations. I'm happy for him. I'm very happy for him. There's several like Sky Storm is not as big a success story as this, but it's another one, and that's a guy that has some issues. He has kind of a bone disease that causes his teeth to fall out, and he's got a bunch of problems, right? But YouTube and helped him to kind of deal with his issues, and he's grown and he's beloved by the community because he's a nice guy, right? Who's
Right.
offering an actual useful service. But of course, he's pointing out the ridiculous and ludicrous nature of this, and of course, they're trying to pile on. It won't do anything. Asmongold is way beyond them. They can't hurt him. I just they're getting desperate, dude. Why did they decide to just latch and dig in like a tick on this particular topic? Why do you think that is? Because usually
Um,
they get bored and they move to the next thing, but they're sticking to this one, dude.
because I think they need a win is a big part of it. I don't know if that's all, but it's a big part of it. Plus, it's easy. It's real easy to be against a video game. Nobody cares.
That's
Video
true.
game people who play video game, first of all, they have to know somewhere down deep in the parts of their psyche they don't talk about at parties that it's completely immaterial to attack people who play video games
No, sure.
because they're either one of two different mindsets. They don't give a white hot shit that you don't like that they play video games, and they've been
Mhm.
dealing with that kind of attitude their whole life from their family. You think they care what a person on the internet says? Or two, they're just a guy who likes to play video games occasionally, and they're just a normal dude otherwise, right? They got a job, they got a family, and occasionally they pop in a game and they play it, or that's just how they get. They don't. Their their go to the bar with the boys is play Halo online, stuff like that, right? Uh, both of those two types of people do not give a white hot flaming rat turd that these people are upset that they don't like the fact that they're playing the evil transphobic video game. They don't care.
Which is not. It is not, by the way.
Not at
But
all.
and to be fair, like I said, the YouTube has moved on, right? Because,
Yes.
like I said, because this game is so popular, they've made a lot of money. It's mega success. It's a really good game. It's sure it's not perfect, but that's almost impossible to do anyway. But it's a very good game, and people are really enjoying it. And the internet and the YouTube particularly has moved on, and now they're just the love of Harry Potter again, right? And a lot more of it. Like I said, there's a
Yep.
lot of lore videos, just all kind of just love of the nerddom, type of YouTube videos that popped up, and that's great. Because that's one of the things that these kind of successful video games will do. They'll rekindle interest in the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it has done that. So it's moved past them. These guys have already lost this. They lost it as soon as they started, but like I said, the internet has moved on, and it just
Well,
loving
the
Harry
other thing, like
Potter.
I was saying, they need a win because they've lost cultural power in a way that hasn't happened since like the late '90s ish era, where the conservative right lost all their power
Mm,
to make these sorts of outrage campaigns. But you can see it now. Like
I
people
blame
just
Tipper
they
Gore.
don't get canceled like they used to. They either get canceled all the way by like the big corporations, like an Andrew Tate did, or there's a couple days where people are mad online and then it just goes away.
Right.
There's not what it used to be, and that's why I think you're seeing them so hard trying
Yeah,
to
but
do this one. But
they
it's not going to work. You
no,
can't.
and they have
JK is first of all, Rawlings too big. She's
and
too
she
disassociated with
doesn't
the thing
care
you're attacking.
anyway.
And she doesn't care. She's a billionaire. She don't have anything to care about ever again when it comes to money. So there's literally nothing they can do to her except physically harm her
Right.
or people she loves.
Well,
And they're not brave enough to actually attempt it, thank God. And she probably has security to make sure just in
right.
case.
But they really need some voice in their community to speak up a little bit because the transgenders have the homosexuals, they act like they gained ground. They not really, but the
Yeah.
transgenders have actually gained some ground. They've actually won some. They've won some things, and they should sit on those laurels and back up and let it become mainstream, right? Is what they should do because all these actions and this continuing pummeling of the transgender right thing, it's just causing people to hate them. They're actually
I
going
don't
to
think it
lose
ever will
ground.
be. I think what you're seeing is the reason why they're not normal. They'll never be
No,
normal. They'll never get to that
there's clearly
level
some
of
mental issues going on.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're here's what they're trying to, like all communists, because if you notice, pretty much all these people are commies. They're fighting human nature. They're trying to fight natural law. And I hate to tell everybody this, anybody who can hear my voice, you cannot win that battle
No.
ever,
No.
under any
No.
circumstances. Will you win that battle? If
Yeah.
Almighty God Himself will not allow Himself to change the law to benefit you, you cannot win that battle.
Yeah. Well, there's a very famous proverb that leans into that, and it kind of explains everything you just said. And the proverb goes
Mhm.
like this: uh, "In the end, the breast always sag."
That's true.
That's true.
It's a fair point. It's a
My
fair
wife
point.
is glaring at me. Yours are perky and beautiful. Okay.
Jess, you keep messing around, you're gonna be in there getting plastic. She's gonna be getting plastic surgery. You keep messing around, it's gonna
No,
happen.
no, no problem. But anyway, let's move on and let's have a little bit of a palate cleanser. Boom.
Look
Yeah,
at them. Look at
baby.
these boys.
Yeah,
Look at them getting
baby. Old
swole. I
men
love
getting
it.
swole. Oh,
I love it.
is she trying to show off her guns? Is she trying to show them off? Oh
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
it.
a little bit, a little bit.
Look at you. Look at
Yeah,
Ryan.
yeah, look at him. He's got to compete with the Hugh. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
lose
Good
that.
luck.
That's the
Good
Hugh.
luck.
Good luck, buddy. But look at that trainer. That guy's in a freaking form of military. I'll put money on it. Um,
Uh huh.
but
He's got the stance for sure.
yeah, that's a military guy right there, without question.
Yep.
Um, the way he stands, the compactness of them, the way they are, they're ready to spring at any moment, right? But I
Yep.
love Hugh. He went and got himself a military trainer, right? And Hugh
Yeah.
just gotta get some eye candy. That's awesome.
You don't need it. You don't need no help. He's
No,
done
he's
this
been doing
before
this
a
so
couple
long.
times.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
knows exactly what he's doing. But I just love it. But
He's looking good, man. Hugh was really deflated. He hadn't been hitting the gym ever
well,
since he,
because he thought he was
retired,
done and could relax a
and
little,
he just got back to his more normal build, right? Which is still better than most men, but he's looking good. He's looking real defined. I see the vascularity coming back.
Yeah.
That's good, especially a man at his age. That's hard to do. The older you get, the harder
Hmm.
it gets,
Hmm.
and he's it's impressive. He's probably on some gear, but that's all right. Not gonna. It's all right.
Now
You
he's
gotta. I
past the
think
age of needing
honestly,
to care about it, really.
honestly, I think, and this is a little tangent, but I think society needs to let go of the stigma around steroids, because going forward, pretty much every man over 40 is probably going to be on something like it, because there's just too many benefits to be
Or at
on
least hormones, yeah.
forms of,
Um,
yeah, to be on some form of testosterone boosting
right.
medication or just straight
Well,
testosterone.
I think what they need to do is just work on it and make it more viable because
Yeah.
steroids do have some quite negative effects, particularly for younger people,
Yeah.
men particularly. And I think if we put some more science into it, they could probably make a more stable, more safer version of it. And
Yes.
hormones, of course, hormone replacement is way safer than steroids anyway. But although it has some negatives too. But the problem is with the stigma around it, they don't put enough funding into it to make it, to fix it, and that's kind of the problem. But my eye has caught something. Do I want some Brie Larson boobage? Uh, no, no, I don't.
I mean, they look better than I expected,
No,
but
no,
I'm still okay. Yeah, I'm all right. And
no,
is
no,
Brie
no,
Larson
no,
wearing
no,
swimming?
no.
Is she wearing swimming shoes?
I think
Is
she
she wearing
is.
swimming shoes?
Yes, she is. Yes.
See, why
Yeah,
do you
no,
do everything
no,
wrong?
no, don't need no, 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 no. I mean, to be fair, she's just a normal looking girl. We knock on her because she's a dumbass, but she's
She
just
does
a
got the
normal
man
looking chick.
jaw though. That jaw is,
Yeah, well, that's what I
you
mean.
could
She's
break
not.
you could break pineapples with that thing.
Yeah,
Like holy cow.
she's definitely got one of those jaws, but she's just a normal looking girl. I mean, to be honest with you, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to our last little bit. This is the best fantasy movies ever made.
Ever made.
Ever.
That that's a big ask.
It is. And it's a big list, but I'm going to go through the first big chunk of it quite quickly. Never heard of it. Lord of the Rings of Power. Yeah, you can get bent. House of the Dragon seems to be doing pretty well, actually.
Wow, that's that low, huh? Dang.
Look at that, dude. How is that possible? This is the
That does
original. That should be
that
top
doesn't even
10
make
easy,
sense.
dude.
That yeah, that doesn't even make sense.
That
Well, we have it on
still
there
holds up.
twice though.
No, that's a different one. But
Oh,
yeah, that's a very scary movie. But it's weird because the rating is at 8. It still holds up. All right. This one right here is. I actually suggest you go watch this. They put a lot of money into this. It didn't make it back. It was a bomb. But it's spectacular looking. It's actually far better looking than the Wizard of Oz. And it's creepy, dude. There's some scary shit in this, as it should be. If you ever read the original Oz books, they are scary,
well,
right?
the original movie terrifies a lot of kids.
Yeah, sure.
I knew a lot of kids when I was younger who were terrified of the Wizard of Oz, the monkeys and the little people and the houses landing on people and stuff. Like it really messed them up.
Yeah, no, that is true.
The witch melting, that kind
You
of stuff.
you people, I don't know who you people are, but there's no way that that is below that. There's no way.
Yeah, that's silly
Yeah, they got all the
silliness.
Fantastic Beasts down here. These things bomb. Penny Dreadful. It's a series, though. Would that be
Yeah,
considered fantasy?
they call
Mm,
it fantasy horror apparently.
okay, but
I
you
would
know,
honestly, I mean, I don't know what else is going to be on this list, but most likely the Fantastic Beasts will be a little bit higher for me. The second one, actually, I enjoyed. So maybe I'm weird, but
I
I
haven't
actually
watched
enjoyed.
it.
I enjoyed Johnny Depp's Grindelwald. I thought he was
This is what's
very
bugging
intriguing.
me, dude. How could
Yeah,
that be
that
so
doesn't make any
low? It's
sense. That should
ridiculous.
be easily
Top
probably number
10.
three.
It should be top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got more of this. The Wheel of Time, once again, a mega bomb and considered one of the worst movies made in the 21st century. What is it doing here? Witcher series, not really. I mean, when Henry's on the screen, it's great. Peter Pan and Wendy, it was all right. Night Watch, once again, the only reason this is so low is because it's Russian made or Ukrainian made or it's Baltic made. I don't know who made it. But the Night Watch and Day Watch movies are great. They're wonderful. Go watch them. It's just foreign film. This is the one from that actor that people keep telling me is supposed to be good, but I've never seen him good. The Franco kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Spiderwick. This is actually underrated. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, another one that's not great, but I just kind of liked it because the Nick.
Yep.
You know,
I
it's
actually, again, I like that one too. I at six stars, probably about right.
it's got
But
holes
that's
in it.
fine.
It
Yeah.
definitely got
Yeah.
holes.
There's no reason, nothing wrong with 6 stars. I think 6 stars is respectable. So I'll
Yeah, it
take it.
is. Yeah, no, if you haven't seen it, it's fun. It's good, fun Nick Cage romp. These are young kid things, the Percy Jackson stuff, and they're fine for what they are. I mean, honestly, they're literally for little kids, and they're great for that. I think.
I
Um,
would I would give Lightning Thief a little higher than a 5.8. I'd give it maybe a 6.2.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
they're good kid films. They're really good kid
yeah.
films, and that's exactly what they are. These are like little elementary school kids movies, and they're good little family
I hear
things to
the
show your
books are
kids.
really, really good. I hear the
Oh yeah,
books are
I don't
really,
know.
really.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you got kids in the house, this is good, fun stuff to show them. Yeah. Aragon was an absolute missed opportunity. They put a lot of money in
Yes,
this, and they dropped the ball big time.
yes.
Beauty and the Beast. Is this the TV show? No, this is the 1946 one. Oh, this one. Now, wow, oh, dude, why is that on there? Hold on a second. This, this is that. Oh, I don't look at that. How is that on this list? What are you doing, dude? This is more of a pornography, really. Beauty and the Beast, which oh, my wife is giving me a note. Ooh, I got a kiss even. Nice. Um,
Aw.
okay. Thanks, baby. Yeah, yeah, I see it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Beauty and the Beast ones are like, eh. The Disney movie, the original Disney movie, right,
mhm.
is fine. I think
This one
it's
is
it's
not.
really
She
good.
can't even
But
sing,
the
dude. Emma
remake
can't even
stuff,
sing, dude.
The fact that that has 7 stars and Percy Jackson doesn't even have 6 is nonsense.
It
That's
is.
nonsense.
This is politic because I'm sure it looked good, but there's a very important point that I've said several times. She can't even sing.
Yeah,
Now, to be fair, it was saved overseas because when they did the translations, they get their local singers to do it, and
right.
they got actual singers. Here in Japan, the girl who was singing all of these songs, of course in Japanese, um, she's a wonderful voice, great voice. And if you go on the YouTube and you check out Emma singing it, it's like, whoa, dude, she's really not a good singer. So, and fair enough, she
Right.
doesn't have to be, right? She doesn't have to be a good singer. But it's like, why would you cast her in a musical? It's weird, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
More Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. This movie deserves our derision. No, it does because it's actually not a bad movie. But the problem is it made Disney think that live action versions were viable. This
Yeah, I
is the
don't
cause of it
understand the
right
live
here.
action thing. It's very strange to me that they went on this long kick of these live action movies that
It's
literally
this movie.
nobody was asking for.
Uh,
Nobody asked
yeah,
for a live action Aladdin or a
yeah.
weird. They tried to call it live action Lion King, but it was just
Well,
computer animation anyway.
because this was a hit. That's why. But more than Fantasy Beasts, Seventh Son. It's actually a fun little schlock, really. Solomon
Yeah,
Kane should be in the top 20 easy. I have no
I'd say
idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. And this guy, MJ Bassett, is actually a transgender dude. And he
really
killed this. And he is in charge of the Red Sonja, and he's saying all the right things.
good.
I'm looking forward to it because if you haven't seen Solomon Kane, dude, this is a sleeper. This movie kills. It's really good. Look who's in it, right? James Purifoy plays the lead, and he does a really good job. But you got supporting actors: Max von Sydow. I mean, come on, dude. But Monster Hunter, absolute crap. Come on. Xena, fuck off. Hercules, fuck off. Fuck off. Warcraft.
Hey,
This
wait,
sh-
wait. You don't like Xena and
Oh, they
Hercules? What's
suck,
going on?
man. I hate that crap.
I
Um,
love those shows.
no, well, you would. But Warcraft should be way higher. This should be way higher, dude.
Warcraft is really good.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't know.
shame it bombed so hard over here.
It did. Look at the
And
money. So low, dude. So low. Look at that.
it's
It's a
it's
good movie.
pretty it's pretty solid. And I
Yeah.
hope because they've been talking about restarting it and starting over basically. I'm fine with that. I hope they give it enough money to pull it off 100%
Well,
because the Warcraft franchise deserves a nice movie to be
yeah,
honest.
it does. But they made a mistake. See, for us, we know Warcraft, right?
Yep.
So when we saw everything, we knew exactly who's who, what's going on. Right?
Right.
But they made it too epic. They should have pulled it back in the first movie because we want to have a general audience love of it, right? We want to get people into Warcraft. So you pull it back and you have a very character focused film and you introduce all of the important characters you want to carry on with, right? This prince or that chief or whatever. You pull it back and you have an introduction to the world and really let us understand those characters. And then you can build into the orc horde invasion. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
mistake they made. And that mistake is made often. Go away. Okay. The Brothers Grimm, I don't hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I
Yeah.
think it's fine.
It's Matt Damon in a weird and Heath Ledger together in a very, very weird thing. But I don't mind it. Right here, absolute two legends right here. Look at this. This is
Yeah.
some of the best fantasy schlock ever made, dude.
And you don't like Hercules and Xena? It's the
No,
same
because
thing.
those are cheesy. These are not. These are cool. These are cool. See, the thing is, people have forgotten these days the rule of cool. The rule of cool is all that matters. It's really what you should be on, and that's how the old B movies used to be great fun, and now they suck because there's no
That's true.
cool in them. Krull is pure cool, right? And it's a crap movie. right? But it's pure cool. Beastmaster is actually it's actually a really good movie. It's
I agree.
it
It
doesn't
is,
belong in the B schlock. It's a full on good movie. Beastmaster is just raw, dripping, cool. It's got
and
freaking
he is cool.
Tanya Roberts in it in bikinis, dude.
I'm actually surprised that hasn't been remade because it's a really good premise. It's a really solid
It's a
premise,
great movie.
and he's a really cool character who's a badass with a sword
Hmm.
and has a bunch of beasts that come and help fight with him.
And half naked
That's
ladies.
awesome. Well, and he's half naked and in great shape
And
too, so
it's
the women got the eye candy too.
dude, Mark Singer, when I was young and actually cared about, actual health, fitness,
Yeah,
that was my goal. I wanted the Mark
he
Singer
was
body from this movie.
shredded.
Dude,
Yeah,
it's the right
shredded.
balance of shredded.
Yeah,
It's the athletic
functional
shredded. Oh
shredded.
my god, dude, you go
Correct.
Mark. But freaking epic
No, he's
movie,
just
dude.
a cool character, Beastmaster. They could really that could be rebooted into a good
Well,
series
they
if
had
you
a
put the
TV
right
show that
budget
was
on it.
really bad.
Yeah, but
It was really
again, if you
bad.
put the right budget on it and the right person on it, you could get some really
Sure,
cool stuff from him
sure.
because the premise is cool. It's a guy who can talk to animals, who he's like a hero, a merc, all this stuff. You could do really cool stuff in that
And
in
he's
that
not the
whole world.
chosen one.
No,
No,
not even a little bit.
no.
There's none of that. You could do cool stuff.
You
It
could.
could be really cool.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go into reboot hell, at least pick something cool
Mhm.
that you kind of can't really totally screw up unless you go hard woke. Because it's not like it's some great beloved franchise, right? It's very niche,
Yeah.
so you have a
It
lot
was
more
awesome though.
wiggle room.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this is a movie that actually made Rip Torn cool. You know how hard that is?
that takes work.
It takes work. And John Amos is absolute buff and cool as shit in this movie, dude. He's a black dude if you don't know who he is. But he plays like a kind of like a priest leader type of guy, but he's really cool in it.
Yep,
I mean, he is. But anyway, I love my nerd love and uh this Jack and the Giant Slayer, it's actually not a bad little flick. Um,
it's
uh,
pretty good. Yeah.
Captain Sinbad, boy, I've never heard of that. Or have I? Maybe it's just going under all those Sinbad, the Harryhausen
Oh, that's
Sinbad
the old
movies were
one.
great.
Yeah, that's the old one from back in the day.
Yeah, but the
Brian
that
Hat,
series
Byron
of
Hatton.
Harryhausen stuff with his Sinbad movies are his best, really. Here we
Yeah,
go. Yeah, no, getting into
Sinbad.
Sinbad stuff. 47 Ronin. It shouldn't be that high, but it's actually a fun little movie. Um, but
Yeah,
the Great Wall
Great
shouldn't be
Wall. I've
that
never
high.
seen that. I've never
Fun little
seen it.
movie, dude.
I just
It's same
can't take him
category.
seriously as a warrior. Matt Damon.
Matt.
He's too frumpy as a
Yeah, I
warrior. Like,
know.
I just don't take him
Even though he
seriously.
can pull off the action, but you're right.
Yeah.
But that's why Bourne worked because an actual
Right.
spy should be innocuous.
Yeah, unassuming.
Yeah,
You should be able to
unassuming.
look right past him,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's
But
perfect for that.
these are both okay. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, absolute legend classic. Once again, a lot of
Man,
these
we
are
need some
low.
Sinbad too, bro. Like, what the hell?
Fuck off. Although I do love
You stop hating Hercules, damn
I
it.
do love Kevin Sorbo though. He's a great dude. Oh god, lots of Kevin Sorbo. Oh my god.
I
Okay.
didn't know
Oh
they did
god.
that
Oh
many
my
movies.
god. Oh
Wow.
Jesus. Uh, a little bit more Nick Cage
Season of
love.
the
Season Witch. This is
Witch.
actually a pretty good movie. I don't know how it got a
That
5.4
should have
rating.
been
It's an
better than
excellent
it
movie.
was, but yeah, it should be. It should be even better, I think. But yeah, I think it's good. I
I don't
like
know
it.
why it has
It's
such
Nick
a low
Cage,
rating.
man. He has this he has this weird love hate relationship with the critics, and they'll just tank his stuff out of nowhere for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah, I don't know cuz it's really not a bad movie.
I don't
Uh
remember this Beowulf and Grend. Oh, that must have been a
this is a
Scandinavian movie.
foreign
It looks like.
film. I've seen it
Yeah,
and it's not bad. Yeah, it's not
Sword and
bad.
Sorcerer.
Sword and Sorcerer, same vein as I'm not gonna go all the way back down, but Beastmaster and
That's what I'm
Crawl,
saying. We
same
need this
period, same
though.
time. Oh, this is a great
Where
movie.
did these movies go, man? Where did these these B level, almost A level, but like right there on the edge, mo- fantasy movies go that were good, not nonsense, but that
Yeah,
were
good solid
something you could just
attempts,
watch.
right?
Yeah,
And this movie has some really good practical effects actually.
yeah, yeah.
The
I don't know what
makeup,
happened to them.
the makeup with the big baddie is actually would hold up to in a modern movie today, dude.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know this movie.
I've
although it
never
has
heard of that.
Salma Hayek in it.
It does
So,
have Selma.
all right. We got the more of
More
Harryhausen
Sinbad.
stuff.
Yep,
Voyage of the Unicorn. That sounds familiar.
it does. Bo Bridges.
Huh.
I don't know what that is.
It sounds familiar to me for some reason.
There's the
Um,
10th kingdom up
the
there.
10th Kingdom. This is a Snow White
8.2,
take, I
really.
think. Huh?
I don't know about 8.2, but it's got 8.2 stars. I don't know about that, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember it
Um,
slightly, right? Oh, look, it's got Waikiki Takakiki's relative in it.
that's his
Um,
brother, yeah.
Out of those whole
Oh, Dragon
schlocky,
Slayer.
great
Look at it.
fantasy movies from the 80s, this is the king.
It's
This is
good.
the king.
It's good.
The practical effects are amazing. The acting is amazing. This is a great movie. The rating
Yep.
should be more in the sevens, even eight. It is a spectacularly well done movie.
Yep.
This is
I agree.
spectacular. Yeah.
I haven't watched it since I was probably in high school, but yeah, I would.
I watched
I
it
love
recently.
Dragon
It
Slayer.
holds way up, dude.
Yep. It's good. It's good.
Because it doesn't have schlock in it. It's a movie.
Yep.
People throw it into the Beastmaster. Well, Beastmaster it isn't schlock either. Krull. They throw it into the Krull category, right? Because
Right.
Krull is ultra schlocky, right? Although it's got some very memorable scenes. Lady Hawk is a fantasy, but this is different. This is a drama. And it's a real movie drama.
Yeah.
And of course, it has the man Rucker Hauer. So what do you expect? I mean, honestly. Mirror Mirror, chick flick, Huntsman, chick flick, Conan the Destroyer. Yeah, boy, did they drop that ball.
Wow. Highlander's that low.
Holy shit,
Wow.
dude. That should be
That's a
way
wow
high
moment.
because the first one is really good.
Yeah, it is. Look at that
And
Metascore, though. See, it's just one of those movies, man, where critics just hate it. They just
it's
hate it. It's too
too
cool
it's
for them.
too much testosterone.
Yeah, it's way
But
too cool.
and look what's
Kurgan
above it.
himself,
Are you kidding
Kurgan
me?
himself is too cool for any of
Oh,
these pussies.
dude, the frickin' Clancy Brown owns that movie.
Yes, he
That
does.
if they should just
And that's
rename it to The Kurgan by Clancy
and that's a
Brown.
movie with Sean Connery in it, and Kurgan still owns it.
Oh, Clancy owns that entire thing, dude. He's so awesome in that. He's so awesome. Prince of Persia, kind of a shit movie, really. Eh. I don't have no idea how that could possibly be above
It's a shame too,
Highlander.
because it should have been great, but no.
Yeah, but it wasn't. The Chronicles, the whole Narnia things were, well, they're for kids though, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
did their
care for
job.
these movies at all.
The Maleficent movies, no, they're
No,
terrible.
I didn't care for them.
Um, they did their job, the Narnia movies, I think. They weren't as good as they could have been, but nothing ever is.
Yeah,
But kids like 'em. Kids
well,
really like them, and
with
that's the
the
point.
that's
That's
true, but with Lord of the Rings and the other stuff, they tried to elevate it to a more general audience, and the Narnia
yeah,
stuff, they just left it as kid. And that's to be fair, they are kid stories. So, they left it there. And I think they would have been wiser to kind of elevate it to more the Lord of the Rings feel. But I don't know.
yeah,
Golden Compass missed opportunity.
yeah.
Hugely missed opportunity. And once again, it's Nicole Kidman. I understand, especially if she was young, absolute stunner, stunningly beautiful human. But she's just not a very good actress, man.
I never thought she was pretty. She's just not my type at all.
When she was young, dude, it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, Jesus.
Just
Um,
didn't do it for me.
but she's just not a very strong actress, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Legend, how in the hell is this only 37? What are you talking
Mm.
about? Are you kidding me? One of Tim Curry's best performances. It's got the
Hmm.
moneymaker himself in it, right? Jesus, dude. Uh, I don't know this movie.
I never heard of it. That's one of those movies, Legend, that you would never, if people didn't tell you or you hadn't seen it, you would never know it was directed by Ridley Scott, and you would never know Tom Cruise was in it because it
Or
just
Tim
doesn't
Curry, for
seem
that
like it.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything any of those guys would touch, but no, they were there.
It's a really solid movie, but it's more of the the acting pieces given by the individuals that really stand, especially Tim Curry. It really just stands out, and it's visually stunning. It's a really Scott movie, of course. I don't know this movie, but it's a foreign film, so those have to struggle to get into these lists anyway. So it's probably fantastic, actually. The now, fuck off. Um, a Monster Calls, once again, not a fantasy, a pure imaginative drama. Once again, Harryhausen, Shape of Water, Merlin series. It was all right.
I like the Purpose series.
Harry Potter
Here
stuff, of
comes
course,
Harry
these are
Potter.
all
I knew that was.
great.
Yeah, I knew that
These are
was
all
coming.
great.
I'm
Constantine,
surprised it's that low.
yes. Claps, claps. Constantine, Keanu Reeves, best movie ever. Okay, even though it does have Shia LaBeouf in it, but he's the comedic dumbass character, so it's perfect. A
Right.
Dragonheart, actually shockingly good, and this has Sean Connery in it too as a voice.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
No,
it,
Dragonheart's really good.
yeah, it's
It's one of those
surprising how good it
movies
is.
with that low budget, but they pulled it off with just really good acting and really good directing. Like it's very well shot. He
Yeah,
knew
no,
what he was doing
it
filming.
is beautiful. Yeah, and it's a movie that gives you a good look at a dragon. Of course,
Yep.
nowhere near as good as Reign of Fire. Reign of Fire owns dragons
Well, it might
forever.
be up here.
It
Might be
better
up
be.
here.
Yeah. Army of
Army of
Darkness,
Darkness.
the least of the Evil Dead, but it is fun.
Yep.
Stardust, this is a drama, but it's oddly good.
Hmm.
And it's got weird people in it. It's got Charlie Cox, Claire Danes, Sienna Miller, Ian McKellen, but it's also got Robert De Niro in it. I don't know why his name
And
isn't on there.
Sir Ian McKellen. Thank you
Sir
very
Ian
much.
McKellen, yeah. But
That's right.
I don't know. This is the kind of movie I probably wouldn't like, but I don't know. It's just really, it's pretty good. You go check it out. And of course, the Harry Potter stuff's awesome. We don't have to. The Hobbit stuff, fair enough. The Lord of the Rings is going to be top anyway. We know this. So maybe that probably
There's
was the
more
best of
con.
them.
There's more Narnia.
This movie, they re-released it. Hopefully, they made
Hmm.
money on more money the second time here. They re-released it very recently. It's a Guy Ritchie movie, but it's actually a fantastic movie, dude. It's really good. And I don't know how we talked about it when it
Well,
when it
that's a Guy
failed.
Ritchie movie.
Yeah,
Wait
it
a minute. I
is.
didn't know that.
Yeah, well, we talked about it when it bombed. We on this channel, we did talk about it,
Huh.
and because I had seen it, and I was like, "Wow, that's a real shame." And it just got caught up in other things that were going on, and it just it got overlooked, really. But
It's
they,
it's Charlie, man. He for whatever reason just doesn't translate to the big screen, and people have rejected him as a movie
oh,
star.
dude, he
Just,
is great in this movie, though. It
I
really
I
is a good
agree.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. People
Okay,
just don't want to see him on the big screen.
it
I don't
seems
know
so.
why.
We got more Narnia stuff. We got What Dreams May Come. I haven't seen this one. Have you?
Oh my God, you need
Oh
to go
no,
see
yes,
what
I
dreams
have.
may
I
come.
have seen it. This is one where he
Oh,
dies and he's basically
6.9. Get
he's
out of here,
haunting
you
his
people.
wife. No, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that is a sad ass movie though, dude.
Yeah, it's
Very
so
sad.
good. So good.
Um,
I
uh,
highly recommend it.
this
Is
one has
that
got
the Sam
this has
Neill
got
Merlin?
Sam in it,
Yeah.
and it's all right.
Sam
Dark,
Neill is Merlin. I don't think that works. But
yeah, no, but Dark Crystal, it was fun. I don't know if these should be this high though. Willow, once again, fun, but should it be this high? Labyrinth,
yeah,
this movie is interesting because the well, I won't get into it, but it is a solid, fun little fantasy flick. Once again, should it be number 8? I don't think so. Yes, please, more, please. One of the best
totally.
sword and shield, sword and sandal movie ever.
Yep.
Um, this is, I mean, gee, they knocked it out of the park with this in every way, dude. Princess Bride, yes, yes, freaking forever,
Yeah.
eternally awesome.
Yeah.
The
I would
original
put that top
Nosferatu.
five.
Yeah, no,
Princess
Princess
Bride.
Bride is just it's a
It's great.
cultural icon. Both of these are,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Nosferatu, I hope a lot of people have seen it in modern times because of its popularity persisting. Game of Thrones, at least the first few seasons.
Everybody's at least seen the scene of him creeping.
Yeah, no,
Everybody's seen that.
everyone's seen that. But I'd
Yeah.
suggest you go watch it. It's one of those old flicks that hold way more power than you would imagine. The original Dracula with not Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi. It carries way more power with it than you would think, right? Like the original Godzilla is another one. They just carry a lot of energy. This one does, even though it's a silent film. Game of Thrones,
Yep.
like I said, and then of course we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, obviously. I
Um,
mean, it's not even really close. Let's be
no,
honest. It's they're number one, two, and three. It doesn't really matter what order you want to put them in. Uh, this is the masterpiece of movie making of that era, and I
my
just genuinely don't know if we'll ever get fantasy anywhere near as good as that
no,
again. True.
and for a long time in my life, my favorite, I have lots of movies I like, obviously, as we all do, but my favorite film was Le Grand Bleu, which is a drama.
Mm,
I mean, it's a full-on drama. It's got a little fantasy elements to it, but it's a drama. And that was my, just simple best movie. That was my best movie that I had ever seen. That Cinema
yep.
Paradiso, things like that, right? Um, but then Lord of the Rings came, and it has not been knocked off that perch.
No.
So
It's
no one's
especially
done it better.
in this genre, right? No one's even close. It's we've had what since the first one 20 years now, and no one's got close. Not
No,
even close. Not even within a
no.
point of a movie has come out
Mm.
that's in this genre, and
Yeah,
that's a
no,
shame
it's a shame.
because
It is a shame.
Lord of the Rings, for all of its faults as a film series, and there are some, of course, it should have been easy to iterate off of, and no one's been able to do it. They've tried, but every time they try, they just miss some major component of it. It could be depends on the movie, like Warcraft, for instance. They pulled out too far. Had
They
they had
did. They
started
did.
like the
Yeah.
first half of Lord of the Rings, which is real in tight, and it's just been a nice tight story, I
hmm
think we would have been in a different. It'd be a different conversation.
Right.
Uh,
But in a way,
but
they
that's what they
kind
did.
of did that, though. They did give us time to understand the characters. Peter Jackson killed it. I mean, he did a great job.
Yep.
And of course, he was working with amazing material. But we haven't. No one has made a movie better yet since, unfortunately. Particularly in this vein. But you know, we have it, and we have it forever. Matter of fact, I have the special collector edition that has all three movies in 4+ hour versions of them, and I've watched them. I've done
Yeah.
them as a marathon.
I uh I watched them recently on Discord with some folks because I'd never seen the extended editions. I just never had for whatever
hmm
reason.
hmm
And it's just I wish it if it wasn't for the fact that he only put so much on the screen because of time constraints. Man, I wish he would have just been given the green light to make the whole thing,
Yeah,
all of it.
honestly, he should have made it in a series.
Yeah, it should have been probably
You know,
6 movies to be
yeah,
honest.
or just done 3 seasons, each season
Yeah,
dedicated to one of the sections. Because keep in mind, we often separate them into 3 books, but they really are a singular book, right?
right.
It's just a gigantic, phone book. Well, it's actually like a double phone book or a New York City phone book. It's huge. I own a very nice copy. But of course, the ultimate question that we'll end the show on today is this: Who takes the ring? Who's your favorite actor? Who just stood out above and beyond amongst this stellar cast?
Oh, in Lord of the Rings, let's see. Man,
Mm,
that is tough. That's actually tough because
it
a lot of
is.
these guys put in their career performances.
They did.
Um,
Yeah,
probably of performance, I probably Elijah. He kills it.
he
He
is
gets
good.
all the way into it. Um, as far as who I like the most, I mean, I got to go with my boy Sam. I got to.
Yeah.
He's Sam.
You
He's the
know,
man.
they all killed it. That's the thing. There are no weak performances in
No.
these movies, which is in itself amazing. But I vote the same. I don't even know the guy's name. But the guy that played Samwise Gamgee, he was the entire heart of the series, and he carried it so beautifully, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I Jeff Potts makes a great point. The guy who played Denethor. I mean, there was even the side
yeah,
characters,
yeah, yeah.
unbelievable performances.
No, it's just, all around. It's kind of like what we saw in the Harry Potter stuff with all the adults, or in the early seasons of Game of Thrones. Just really killer. I mean, because if you Game of Thrones doesn't come into this same conversation because it's not as pristine. But from the first four seasons of Game of Thrones, the only poor acting I saw was coming out of the little girl that was playing the Dragon Queen there.
Mhm.
Um, Daenerys there.
Yeah.
I can't remember that actress's name, but she was the only weak, and she's not a very good actress, but she was the only weak point. Everyone else was killing that shit, particularly the lady playing Cersei. Damn, dude,
Yep.
damn. I mean, she owned that. I would say, of the initial seasons, for me, it's either between her or the little midget guy.
So I do have one question though. We went through the best performances, the ones we liked the best. What about uh what about which movie would you say is the best of the three? If you had to put your stamp on one of them, what would you say is the best one of the three films in the trilogy? And in my opinion, these aren't movies; these are films,
Right.
right? That's the
The
difference. Like this actually achieves something that it just has never happened since, and
well,
maybe never again
yeah.
when it
Um,
comes to this genre.
the Return of the King, the third movie, it was rushed at certain parts of it, so I couldn't choose that. It's a great overall, but it had they were they were rushing it, particularly bringing in the Phantom Army. This one is the middle section, which is slogging, as it should be. And it's fine, but they all have some great stuff, but it's got to be the Fellowship. It's got to be the Fellowship.
Yep,
Yeah,
you go with Fellowship.
yeah.
I know I'm in the minority here. I think my favorite one is Two Towers, and the reason being is because the last battle at Helm's Deep, in my opinion, is
It
the
is great.
best battle.
It is great.
Just
Yeah.
even though the ending of it is nonsense silliness, up to that point, the the tension and the angst in
Oh,
that
it's great.
battle
Yeah.
is
It, it
fantastic.
is.
It's
You're
so
right.
good.
It is really, really good. But if I'm looking overall, I have to go with the Fellowship,
Yep.
because there is some schlock in that movie, and of course there should be. It's the middle. It's the middle act, right?
Right.
But the Helm's Deep stuff is fantastic. Whereas in Return of the King, it has some great stuff too. I mean, they're all great. But this has some points where they clearly rushed,
Yep.
particularly in the Battle of Minas Tirith. Um, they should have
It's
slowed
that
that
movie
down.
alone that I think gives more credence to the fact that it should have probably been two trilogies. Simply because there's so much to add in that last
Yeah,
chapter, quote unquote, of the saga that it would have been really cool to be able to not have had them have to kill off Saruman and get his proper ending and everything, right?
right,
That would have been nice, the scouring of the Shire, all that stuff. But he knew he didn't have the time
right.
to actually do that
And
justice,
back
so
in
he just
those
didn't do it.
days, they couldn't make a TV series like they do now. There's just
Right.
you can't
Right.
do it. So what we got is amazing, and we're all very happy for it. And but it's about as good as it gets, though. They're all really, really good. They play together beautifully. The cohesion is amazing. There's hardly any plot holes in it.
Yeah.
It's just really well done. And like I said, the acting across the board is, you can't point to anybody who dropped the ball.
Right.
They all.
Even what's his name's daughter, Steven Tyler's
Oh,
daughter,
she did a good job.
kills it.
She
She
does.
does a great job.
But she does
She's
that kind
very
of.
regal and very elvish, like she needs to be for that character. Like she just does a great job.
No, she is good. But she does that particular thing pretty well. The sorrowful girl that you really, really need to get to bed. Yeah, yeah. Because she's a hottie, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just that she's a pretty girl, because she is a pretty girl, but she has killer bedroom eyes, dude. Liv Tyler.
Yeah,
She
a
really,
little
really
bit.
knows how to
And
master
she's
that.
still very, very nice looking. She has
Yeah.
not. She has aged like a fine wine. Miss
Yeah,
Tyler
but you know
has.
what I mean. There's plenty of pretty girls, but the ones who can add that magnetism on top of it, right? And she does that
Yep.
well, and her acting's always been fine. I mean, I've never seen her do anything badly, right? But she also knows that she understands that silence is powerful. That girl does get that, and I bet you she got it from her dad, because he's a very, very famous and successful musician, and with music, the silence is the most powerful part of everything you do, right?
Right.
So I'm sure she learned that from him. But yeah, no, everybody killed it. And what would Jeff was making a mention of one guy? Oh yeah, Denethor. Uh,
Yep.
that guy we've seen in a bunch of stuff. He became much more popular after that, but he's so good, dude. He's so good. The performances in these movies are insane, dude. Um, Even I mean, you got freaking Reese Davies playing Gimli. He absolutely owns it. Orlando Bloom is great Legolas, dude. He's wonderful.
Yep.
Even with their goofy little banter they try to put in as a little bit of comedic relief, it still works.
It
Ian
flowed.
McKellen, come on now.
Well, he's Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
He's one of the
And
greatest actors of all time.
and
Um,
Elijah, who before these things I considered to be mediocre, but
oh, he
he
kills it.
shines, dude.
He shows what he needed to be for Frodo, whereas Frodo, while brave, becomes very pathetic at the end of it. By the end of it, and he
And
needs Sam to
yeah,
pull him back from
he
that,
does, and
and
he displays that
and he
beautifully.
kills it.
The
Yeah.
two British guys who play Merry and Pippin killed it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I just can't. I'm sitting here going in my head, is there anything in it that wasn't good? There isn't. They just, even the Master of Death, Sean Bean, absolutely killed it.
Oh, the end, man. That ending, where he calls him his king. That whole
The
sequence is just
Duodokai,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
The older you get, I've noticed this. Every time I see it now, I respect more and more of it.
Hmm.
The honor in that character, in the quick, they do a very quick, but the very quick redemption arc that he gets right there at the end. It's so good. It's
Well,
so
it's
well done.
it's Sauron's will that's bending him, right?
Yep.
And we know that the those who are most susceptible to the power of Sauron are humans, are the men, right?
Yep.
And like another amazing performance in it is the guy who plays Wormtongue. Oh my God, he's great.
Yep.
It,
He is really good.
is he the guy that does Chucky? Is that the same dude?
I don't think so. Could
Uh,
be, but I don't think so.
Not sure. But
And Theoden's awesome. Like
oh
there's
yeah,
no
Theoden. Yeah.
weaknesses. Carl Urban's fantastic as his son. Like no weaknesses.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
That's
Even
crazy.
even the little girl who's trying to shine up to Aragorn in the
Yep.
camp there with her horrible cooking, even she did a perfect little job, right? Now, I mean, well, you know what I mean. It's such an innocuous character, but yet she did a good job. It was exactly
Yep.
what was needed. You remember her, even though
Yes.
it's a completely unnecessary scene. It's just one of those quiet scenes you need to build up the tension to the greater scenes. It's just,
And
storytelling.
I think the main reason why these movies work so well, aside from obviously the cast bringing everything and Peter loving the source material, most of the cast love the source material.
Mm.
Ian is a fanatic about it. Um, uh, what's his name? Oh my God, the legend himself, the man James Bond is inspired by. Christopher Lee, humongous Tolkien fan.
Oh, sure.
Uh, like so many of these people were huge either Tolkien fans or they were at least had great respect
Mm.
for the source material,
Dude, they
and
gave
that's
up
why they brought
5 years of their life,
Yes,
literally in the woods, in
and
field, to make these movies.
Vigo was the perfect Aragorn because
Yeah, he
he's
was.
basically a ranger in real life. Man, he's just an outdoorsman all the way. So that was perfect. That was perfect casting. He's a fisherman, a hunter. He likes to rough it out in the woods and go
Hmm.
camping and stuff. I'm sure he probably doesn't do it as much now that he's older with kids and everything. But still, back in the day, like there's literally footage of him where he was on set and he'd be in full costume fishing because
Yeah,
that's what he'd be doing. He'd just
yeah,
be fishing.
yeah. And to be honest, we saw one of the hobbits down below made it into the list, but you know, they should the executives screwed up on that, because
Yeah,
Peter didn't want to do more. He was happy with that, and he wanted to have his buddy, make the Hobbit movies and make two of them, and he because he wanted Guillermo to do it, and but they were desperate that they be a cohesive look and a cohesive connection. And it's unfortunate that Peter couldn't talk him out of it, because those movies they not even close to the Lord of the Rings, not even close. I love, Watertown and the whole smog scene. It's great, but it's just not. It's not good enough, and it's a shame, because just imagine Guillermo del Toro's Hobbit, dude.
it could have been something.
It would have been spectacular, and he'd have
Yeah.
complete support of his
Imagine his
friend Peter
smog.
and all that. Hmm?
Imagine his smog.
Oh my
Imagine
God,
him.
dude.
It
Yeah,
would have been a different beast altogether, bro. He would have. It would have. I'm telling you. And then him in the cave in the mountain with all the gold and everything. That whole bit, man.
yeah, it would have
It
been
would have been
it
a
would have
whole
been
other
cool.
animal.
And
Yep.
to be fair, I think Peter did a good job with that section. The whole smog thing was pretty well done,
Yep.
but we can't remember any of the dwarfs. They don't stick with us. The actor, the English actor there that played Bilbo, he did a fair job. But it just really didn't need to be done the way it was done. But oh well. But then again, even that compared to most movies is superior.
Yes.
So
That's
what are you
true.
gonna do?
That's true. No, I think you know I still stand by my original statement, but I want to go back to Vigo real quick. His portrayal of Aragorn was it wasn't exact, obviously, from like the book. There's a lot of differences, but the way he portrayed him was perfect for those films, and he was a great representation of what a king, the ideal of a king is,
Yeah.
right? The perfect ideal of what a man like that people would willingly follow into hell for has to be. And Vigo kills it as that. His version of Aragorn is all of that. He's kind, he's compassionate, he's caring, he's got great bravery. Uh, he's very wise. He has, just everything. And
Yeah.
he really killed that in his performance and how subtle his performance was.
Well, and
That those movies don't even with all the praise we've given them, there's still not enough praise given to them. They are a masterpiece, all three of them.
they
Truly
are,
a
and
masterpiece.
and one of the things that Vigo does, that the average viewer wouldn't even catch, that what the Tolkien fans do, is the fact that Aragorn is one of the last the Duodine, right? The Duodine, right?
That's right.
Which the Duodine are kind of the last remnant of the of Numenor, right? They are kind of human. They're human, but they're advanced humans. They're
Right.
Atlanteans, right? And
That's right.
they're extremely long lived. Live far far longer than a human. They're not immortal like an elf, but the
In
elven
fact,
soul
it's
is immortal.
hinted or it's implied that he just chooses to die. Like he may have been able to live who knows how long, and when he dies, he just decides it's time to die now,
Right.
basically.
But only a fan would know that. But yet you
Yeah.
can feel it, because Vigo's not a young guy playing Aragon, but he plays it way older than he is.
Yeah.
He comes across as a much older, wiser man than he appears, as he should. Because in that part of the story, he's what, in his 80s, 90s?
I believe 83, I think, at that
Something. He's
point.
somewhere in that
Yeah.
age range. And one of the big problems we have with a lot of people, actors playing characters that are supposed to be older, particularly in vampire movies, they never pull it off. They just never
Right.
do, because
There's no wisdom.
there's no wisdom to it. There's no patience and quiet. And
Yeah.
an ancient vampire. And I think Bela Lugosi probably did it better than most. But an ancient vampire is ancient. They have years
Seen it
under
all.
them, right? And
They
you
don't get
have
startled.
That's right.
They've seen it before.
And they're always frantic, and they're always young,
Yeah.
and I get it's probably hard to do. I'm not an actor, I wouldn't know. But Vigo pulls that off really well.
Yep. In fact, that's the problem, right? So a character like that, one of the things about getting older, you lose a lot of wonder. It's hard to have wonder still because you've seen so much. You've already kind of seen everything to
Yeah.
some degree, right?
Yeah, he's an old
So
man.
if you're gonna play a character that's 80 years old but doesn't look it, or 1,000 years old but has the body of a young man, they still would have the mind of an old man, meaning they would still have that same like dullness in a way. Things don't startle them. They're not
Mm.
excited as things at most things as other people would be, strictly because they've already seen everything. They've
Yeah.
lived
And
lifetimes.
you have to
So
portray that. And you know,
yes,
and Peter, there was really nothing to really complain about, but it would have been nice if you put an extra line in because we know the watcher knows, okay, he's something a little different. They do kind of put a line in there to tell you about the duodine, duodine. But there's another little thing that might be seen as a plot hole by some. Why are the elves raising him? Why is he with the elves? Why is he there?
right,
Right? And that's because Peter didn't really demonstrate or express to us. It's because he's the last. He's
right,
something unique and special that the elves feel need to be preserved, right?
right.
And we know this, but the audience wouldn't have got that, right?
And
Uh,
there is a line where he says his age, I believe, but I think it was
I
either part
think
of the
so. It's
extended
he's talking
cut
to
or
that
deleted
girl
scene or something.
that's shining on
Yeah,
him. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And
but
she doesn't believe him. She's like, "What? What? You ain't no 80 something. What are you talking
But you
about?
know
You
what I mean,
crazy."
though. I mean, it's not a
Yeah,
complaint because the movie's great, but I'm just saying that throwing a little line in, from one of the high elves to express why he's with them, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Why is he the only human that is with elves? Why is he there? Of course, there's a really good reason why he's there, but the casual viewer never gets it, and I bet you a lot of people see that as a plot hole.
could be,
Yeah.
could be. I think a lot of it, the biggest problem those movies have for most, especially modern viewers, is their pacing because
Mm.
people have such insanely short attention. That movie came out at the
Pacing's
exact right
amazing.
time.
Yeah.
It came out at the exact right time because if it had been 10 years later, it would have been lambasted for being it's too slow.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, yeah, that's probably true.
that is the biggest complaint you'll hear that I've heard from most people is I can't get through it all. It's too long and slow. And I'm like, man, unless you're just like a really really busy person and just don't have time, your mental headspace must be horrible. If that movie bores you, you're I'm sorry to
Well,
tell you, you're probably a very shallow person. I
attention
just
span of a goldfish, right?
Yeah, I'm
But
just saying maybe you need
yeah,
to get some meditation in, do some focus exercises, get that attention span under your
yeah.
control and not
Um,
under the
well,
whims of your dopamine addiction.
I read Lord of the Rings when I was an elementary school kid, so I was quite
Mhm.
excited when it came, and I wasn't disappointed. Usually, I try not to go into movies with excitement, but I couldn't help it. But I
Yeah.
wasn't disappointed at all, and each movie successively did not disappoint me. So
And the
I,
best part about those movies, in all honesty, is the fact that anybody, like Star Wars, anybody can watch them. You don't really need to worry about your kids watching them. Yeah, they're a little violent, but they're not more violent than a cartoon.
hmm,
You don't like anybody can watch them and get something from it that's awesome. That'll resonate with them. That's when you've done it. George Lucas said famously in an interview, he makes his movies for 12 to 15-year-old boys because he's under the belief that if they like it, anybody can like it. And
yeah,
he's
that's
correct.
fair.
They're
That's
just
fair.
old enough to get some deep concepts and just young enough to still have enough wonder in them that you can do awesome things and
Right.
impress them.
I do need to go because I gotta go to work. But one thing I was a bit surprised in the extended versions was because I understand why it wasn't in the movie because there just isn't time. But in extended
Yeah.
version, we do get a clip of Bill. They don't really get into Bill, but we do get a
Mhm.
shot of Bill. Okay, so I'm happy. That's an Easter egg for me. But what we didn't get, well, you know what I mean. What because Bill's kind of an important character in the early part of the book, right?
Mm.
What I really surprised we didn't get, maybe even a distant shot or just somewhere stuck in, was Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
Just you don't want to put in the main movie. I get it. You want to distract. You want to keep your pacing. I understand 100%. But in the extended one, you don't have just him somewhere in the background, just playing with some nymphs or something. Uh, I
Or
just
you just hear him singing. You could have just had
something.
that
Yeah.
and have one of them mention, "What is that?" "Oh, that's Tom Bombadil," because that he's just a person everybody knows exists, and nobody really bothers because he's all powerful and there's nothing you can do to him.
Well, he's
So he's
Tolkien,
just
is who
over
he
there
is.
singing. Yeah,
But
he's just
he's a
over there singing.
self-insertion.
They could have even made him look like Tolkien, and I think everybody would have been cool.
Yeah, just a little Easter egg in the extended. I don't need it in
Yeah.
the theatrical release. It's cool, but I was surprised that Peter didn't squeeze that in somehow. It doesn't matter, but I gotta go though. I'm past my time.
Get
Uh,
out of here, Chuck.
so go ahead and
Get
close us
out
out,
of
dude.
here. Let's close it out with a real simple one. I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'm just going to do one right off the top of my head. We're talking about masterpieces. Perfect segue into Chester's favorite one. The master is not the one who completes his training. The master is the one who never stops.
That's true. That is very true. Namaste. Later, everybody.